I'm Peter Boyles sitting in for George. George is at a wedding. I believe he'll be back here tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. Thursday weather, sunny and 65, 68 on Friday, 65 on Saturday. Look at Sunday, 70 degrees. Well, two words, Ken Buck. Good morning, everyone. 303-696-1971. There was people use a term called bombshell. Well, perhaps. But yesterday, Colorado Representative Ken Buck announced he would not be seeking reelection. In a very sharply worded statement explaining his decision, it is something we have been living with for, almost 3 years now. He blamed the election denialism that is embraced by his fellow Republicans. The quote, "Too many Republican leaders are lying to America." I watched the video, I'm sure many of you had, claiming the 2020 election was stolen, describing January 6th as an unguided tour of the Capitol, and asserting that the prosecutions are weaponizing the Justice Department. Now, none of it's true. I mean, we've been over it and over it and over it. I don't plan on rehashing it this morning, but Buck went on and he said it's impossible for the Republican Party to confront our problems, offer a course correction for the future while being obsessed, fixated on retribution and vengeance for contrived injustices of the past. Now, I've had my issues with Ken Buck. Lots of people have, but that was clarity yesterday. And I don't know why he chooses not to run, because certainly high degree of probability would have been challenged, but I think he would have pulled it off. But he makes that statement, and it's all true. Every single thing that Ken Buck said about the Republican Party is true. He says, look, Republican Party is lying to America. What do you do with that? The Republican Party is lying to America. Now, I don't know how many of you have been dropping into the stories now that are emerging on why Tucker Carlson got pushed out, fired from Fox. And one of the points is there's a new book coming out called Network of Lies. I finished Hoax, which I hope we get the guy on the show, on a Saturday show or the shoot about Fox News. But Carlson, who since I guess he's brought it to, it used to be called Twitter, right now it's X. But this new book's coming out called A Network of Lies, and people have gotten some advances on it. And they're talking about Dominion voting and what happened in that lawsuit with Fox and the $787.5 million to settle the defamation lawsuit. Also adding, coming your way, the $2.7 billion defamation case filed by the Smartmatic, the other voting technology company, and they got rid of him. And that was it. He cost too much money. In order to stop the bleeding, when you have pending lawsuits for over $1 billion against you, you can use that as a defense. You know what's fascinating first of all, in the Fox lawsuit and the pending Smartmatic, which is going to end up as a settlement as well, why all these bright silk stocking law firms that were representing the Murdochs, why didn't they go and get my good friend John Eastman? Why didn't they go get all of these people who say, I got the goods, I can prove? Go get Mike Lindell, Tina Peters. You know, there's a host of people, radio talk show hosts. Why didn't those law firms go and get them? Why didn't they go get the Kraken? Why didn't they go get somebody? Well, the answer is because they have no proof. They just have, as Ken Buck points out, lies. So 303-696-1971. Who replaces Ken Buck? My phone went off yesterday. And, I only get to do a Saturday gig and fill in for the guys every once in a while. I'll be back here this afternoon with Stefan at 4. But Ken Buck's not going to seek re-election. He is citing his party's the denialism. And I've had 3 years of this. He's a conservative Republican, of course, played the central role in ousting Kevin McCarthy, which I think is another interesting one. And then he's not going to seek reelection, saying, look, his party's election denialism and many members refusing to condemn January 6th. Sounds like talk radio. Buck, his 5th term, he's, it's amazing. He was a prosecutor, I think, as people know. I actually think that Jenna Ellis worked for him at one time, that she worked as in his office. We have lost our way. So who has the ability to replace Ken Buck? Now, George's name has been mentioned. Deborah, of course, quits the job yesterday. Deborah Flora walks off the job. She has obviously got her hat in the ring. All kinds of stuff is happening. Mr. Smith, first guy out of the box, 303-696. Good morning.
I don't know if I'm the first guy out of the box. I'm 73 and sliding into the sunset.
There you go.
Listen, I've been around in Colorado, and I knew I went to Florida, but doggone, the Republican Party sometimes just can't get out of their own way. And you said this over and over for the last 10 years before you kind of semi-retired. And frankly, Mr. Buck, I never knew much about him. I was a Kaufman guy, and then I realized, frankly, he was kind of a weasel. And because he was a Marine Corps guy, I thought he was, untouchable. And Peter, I supported the sheriff that got in trouble for sexual problems. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? And to me, and I don't know I'm kind of all over the ballpark here, but Mr. Buck is retiring because I think he's just tired of the dung back there. He just can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point's well taken. There were always talks about he was trying to get a job with one of the networks, one of the cable networks.
Right.
I wrote a column that's out now, dubbing CNN Ken, that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
But there's here again with Joseph Heller, something happened in the last time period. A bell went off, the clarity shows up. And when Buck says what he says yesterday, I mean, I was so pleased to have somebody tell the truth that he says he's blaming these deniers that have been embraced by the Republicans, and they ruined Colorado. They have absolutely, totally ruined Colorado. They have the propensity to ruin certain media outlets. They have destroyed. They're the Grim Reaper, and now we're here.
Well, I think the thing in Colorado for me, it's quite. I was in the Arapahoe County politics I got excited when I was in my 30s and 40s. Oh gosh, I'll go to the state convention. I'll do this. I'll do that. But what I realized every time I went to a caucus, there were certain individuals in that caucus. They didn't want any new people in the system. And I'll never forget, I think it was when Trump got elected, because I remember, if I remember correctly, you talked about this, the Republican Central Committee of the state decided who they were going to vote for when that election 2016. And I'll never forget sitting in Sandburg Elementary in our little caucus in a little lunchroom, and they're saying, oh, by the way, you can't vote. We've already voted for you. And I'm going, huh? What? I mean, and there were 2 young people, one an ex-Marine from, I think, Afghanistan, and a young school teacher. And we all voted those people in, and the people in our caucus that were part of the problem, they were absolutely furious.
Sure. Well, now, look, there's 2 lawsuits floating. One is to keep Trump off the ballot, which I mean, I just don't even know why they're doing that. And the other one is, and my personal friend, John Eastman, is the lead attorney.
Right.
And it's really interesting. It's like this guy, he's
brilliant.
No, he's underhanded. He may be really smart, but please listen, he's Donald Trump's architect. But
let
me finish. Then I'll come back.
I'm sorry.
He's fighting for his life in California on 13. He's taken the fifth a lot on lifting his law license, and he's been RICO'd in Georgia. So why would you continue to use that guy as your lawyer in this lawsuit that wants to keep people out of the primary? Now
Because he's part of the fold.
Well, no,
They can't.
Why? I mean, I don't understand any of this with looking at it with, through some honest telescope. But yesterday, I'm telling you, Buck yesterday, who condemns the GOP for lying to America. That's the quote. So I said, wow, I've had my problems with Ken Buck, but I tell you what, he shot the truth yesterday.
You know what? And when you shoot the truth, you get shot.
Well, sure. But he knew.
Sure. He knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And maybe it was his parting shot across the bow. 6 months from now, I don't think I think there are a lot of angry people in this country, not from the standpoint, they vote in people they think that are going to represent them. And 2 years later, the person that they sent doesn't do anything.
What do the Irish say? They say,
who
do you vote for? And they go, the one that lies the least and steals the least amount of money.
And you know what? We have a great form of government. The problem is man is inherently evil.
Well,
period. And I go back to the point when Mary Estelle Buchanan, she was beating Gary, I think it was Gary Hart, if I remember correctly. You might help me.
Yeah.
And then the state Republican Party got into her campaign and messed everything up, and she lost. And I think it's by design. I really do.
No, I think he doesn't care to talk to me, and I'm okay with that. But
who's that?
Oh, Ken Buck. But the point of it is, what he did yesterday, I thought was really significant. Listen, thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Billy. We still rolling? We're in good shape. Okay. Second caller of the morning, Lindsay. You're on a radio show, man. Good morning. Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm really good.
Yeah, I'm calling because I think you guys got it wrong about Ken Buck.
Okay.
Buck's not running for reelection because he's going to get primaried and lose. He's not a real Republican. He's a rhino.
See, because he doesn't believe what?
Believe the election was stolen, which it was.
And why aren't you on the stand representing Fox News in their defamation case?
I don't watch Fox News.
I don't care. Why aren't you going to help Fox News defeat Smartmatic, who says, look, nothing was stolen? Why didn't Fox News use you or people who think like you not to have to pay all of that money in a defamation case that they just paid $787.5 million? I'm waiting.
I don't even watch Fox.
I don't care if you don't watch Fox. Fox lied, just like the Republican leadership is lying. Now, they have agreed to pay Dominion voting
party or what?
What you pick and choose. I mean, look.
I think you should put a Democrat name next to you, a big D.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm not.
You and George.
Because we don't lie, then automatically we are Democrats. Here's the deal. Let me run this off you. I have this conversation with people that I was once very close to. If I say Donald Trump's lying about the election, they say you must be supporting Joe Biden. Is that what you're saying, Lindsay?
I don't know who you support.
It doesn't matter. Do you believe if I say Donald Trump is lying, then I'm a supporter of Joe Biden?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay, thank you, because it's not true.
I mean, that's kind of a trap type question.
No, it isn't. It's a trap because it doesn't make sense. But that's what it's like calling me a rhino or calling you give me that jacket because I don't believe your lies. So now,
I think the party is changing And guys that think like you are being dispatched. And
You're
Ken
right.
Buck will be
Yeah, absolutely.
dispatched.
Guys that want the truth.
That's why he's not running.
No. I think he's
you
had
can
enough.
accept that or not. Over time, the reality is going to catch
All
up
right,
to you
Bubba,
guys.
who by name,
Whose side are you on?
I don't have a side. I'm on the side of truth. I'm asking you one more time.
Your truth.
It's not my truth. It's the truth. We'll go back to the court cases. Why didn't you or any of your buddies and talk show hosts and others go when Fox agreed to pay Dominion $787.5 million to settle that defamation lawsuit? Why weren't you guys on the witness stand?
I don't even understand it. I don't accept the premise of your question.
Okay. Well, Fox News. Do you understand the Dominion?
I watch Fox News. I listen to
all right, that doesn't matter.
AM radio.
All right. Okay. All right. Listen. Take a final comment because this is too early to get this crazy.
Okay.
All right.
My final comment is your ratings probably suck, and you guys, I don't know what your deal is here, but I hope you get your mind right, man, because the election was stolen.
So you're going to call me a name. Listen to me.
Have a good night.
All right, man. Thank you. I work Saturdays. I'm filling in for George. There was a time, right? 303-696-1971. I knew this would begin. I mean, I really doesn't. I don't want to rehash it, but of course we're going to probably have to. Look, Fox News, there's a new book coming out called Network of Lies, which I've not read, but I did read Hoax about Fox News and what was going on, and particularly the relationships with Donald Trump, Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, the rest of them. But so they settle on the courthouse steps. Fox News agrees to pay Dominion Voting Systems $787.5 million. And are also facing a $2.7 billion from Smartmatic, the other company. Now, why didn't they bring in radio talk show host like this caller, John Eastman? They could have put John Eastman on the stand. They could have put the Kraken. They could have put Mike Lindell. Remember all the years and years and years? Wait till Mike Lindell gets done with you. Mike Lindell's out of his mind. The Kraken, the Flipper. Get Jenna Ellis. We'll go get Rudolph. Why not you put Giuliani on the stand? That's a lot of dough. 787.5 with another 2.7 billion coming. And them lawsuits ain't over by a long shot. So if these people all had the truth, I'll tell you, that's a lot of money. I ought to put Eastman on there. I ought to put radio talk show hosts on there. I would have put the Kraken. I mean, I would have gotten Jenna Ellis on there. I'd have gotten Uncle Rudy. Put them on there. They're going to tell that jury the truth. You know what? They'd have been paying $100 million when those guys got done testifying. 303-696-1971. Ken Buck slams lying to America. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. This is Denver's Talk Station.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Say goodbye to clutter and hello to convenience when you experience organization transformation in your home. Roll 'em Out Shelves, your clutter transformation experts, create affordable Colorado-crafted organized storage solutions. These custom options will maximize and organize your kitchen and bath storage as Roll 'em Out Shelves carefully designs and builds roll-out drawers to fit your space perfectly to clear the clutter. Contact owners Joyce and Brent at Roll 'em Out Shelves to schedule your free in-home estimate today.
Morning, everybody. It's a Thursday. Peter Boyles in for George Brauchler. Back tomorrow, November 2nd, 2023. 65 and sunny, 68 on Friday and Saturday, 65. I'm here Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, 710 KNUS. The website is 710knus.com. Click on my name, go to shows, and I did a shoot with Wadhams. It was pretty good. The new column is up. About the island of for these misfit toys, the Republican Party. So Republican Congressman Ken Buck pulls the pin yesterday and says the GOP is lying to America. All right, to the wall. Good morning, Peter. The problem is people like your last caller just aren't smart enough to understand why somebody that they wanted to win lost. Therefore, it must be a lie. No, actually, it's more than when Trump starts about it was stolen. I don't believe the last caller came up with that on his own. He was fortified by talk shows and all of it, and Fox News. And that's why I decided to get rid of my Republican check mark. I realized how idiotic a lot of people on the right look, same for the left, but they don't go on radio. That's well said. All right, we'll start with Patrick. Patrick, thank you. You're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. You know, I knew he was going to lose, and it was very simple.
Who was going to lose?
Trump.
All right.
Okay, it was that thing he had in I believe it was Georgia, and they interviewed the people that were there, and when they weren't from Georgia, they were from all over the United States. I would have been impressed if that many people were from Georgia. So they went back to their states, and they were in the minority right off the bat.
Who are we talking about? You lost me.
Oh, Trump.
Well, what about Trump? Because
I knew he would lose.
Well, no,
I knew he would lose. Huh?
Well, I can't see around corners, but Georgia, and when you listen to the people who had no dog in the fight as Democrats or Republicans, but they all said, look, this is getting down to Georgia. They spoke about it in very articulate ways. They had weighed and measured. They said that the fight will be in Georgia. And Donald Trump lost Georgia, but he makes that fatal mistake, the fake delegates, all the stuff that they're all being RICO'd for now. Had he left it alone and he wasn't, well,
that's true. He's his own worst enemy. But what I mean is, when they interviewed the people from Georgia, you know, that were at the rally that supported Trump, they were not from Georgia.
Huh. Okay.
So the numbers looked good, but
I see. All right.
It's like the military vote. You know, I was overseas. I forget what president it was, but I voted. But big deal. Yeah. By the time the votes came over here, they already declared the president.
Well, one of the things that changed, and it was Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, when the networks were proclaiming Reagan the winner, and the polls had not yet closed in California. But if you go, there's so many books out, and the one I just finished, so it's fresh, is a book called Hoax, about the night of the election when this Fox News guy rightfully calls the state of Arizona for Joe Biden, and the Trump teams are all in the White House in different rooms and big screens, and Donald Trump loses his load and they want to call and make calls. He sends his guys out, and they're supposed to call the Murdochs and tell them to reverse it. Well, that man who rightfully made the call statistically was accurate. He got fired. The Murdochs fired him, and they brought him back, and they've apologized, but that's a little too late. But that was the beginning. And if you read the literature, the availabilities are out there. Woodward's book, and I know everybody's always Woodward, but Donald Trump was talking late summer that this was going to be stolen from him, when the very bright people who do statistical variances and analysis came in and said, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, you're going to lose. They told him that he was going to lose, and this is all now being released. So, and remember when he goes into one of the turning points was when he goes into that debate and he just goes off on Biden and makes a fool of himself. Well, they were turning points.
Yeah, and like I said, the number. Yeah. Oh, by the way, before I hang up, I want to tell you when I got hooked on you. You were in a radio show. I forget what it was, but it was one of those little smaller ones. And you interviewed a what are they called? They talk to the dead.
That's me.
Okay, no.
Talk radio.
She was on, and just as she was talking, she said, "I talked to this guy. He's his religion 1,000 years old." And then just before the break, you said that's really interesting because that religion is only 300 years old.
Yeah, I remember that.
And she didn't come back after.
She walked.
Ad. Oh,
she got walked out.
This guy.
She walked out of the studio. I'm trying to write some stuff, and I've had studio walkers in the past more than once. So, like I said, you got to be able to ask the right question and make people mad, but that's kind of lacking anymore. But it's certainly there was a time, right?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Patrick, take care of yourself. Thanks, man. 303-696-1971. When I was trying to sketch out this show for this morning, there were two things I wanted to bring up. The Ken Buck thing, because it affects all of us here on the Front Range. And then why has this violent anti-Semitism come back? I mean, why is it here again? Your thoughts about that, 303-696-1971. But Ken Buck, as he goes out the door, not seeking reelection, but he has this statement, his video, we can play it if you want, and he blames the election deniers. And here's this quote: "To many Republican leaders, to TOO, many Republican leaders are lying to America." That's pretty brutal. What do you want to do here, William? All right, Billy says break. 303-696-1971. One line's open. 65 will be the high, 68 tomorrow. Morning, everybody. It's a Thursday. What a Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. I'm Peter Boyles in for George Brauchler. He's back tomorrow, 303-696-1971. Now we have two lines open. There are two stories, or themes for us to speak about this morning. One, of course, is in our backyard, Ken Buck. And the other one is this violent anti-Semitism that's come from where, again, question mark. And this isn't just about Israelis. This is now spread out to anti-Semitism, which is the correct term, in Europe, United States, and other places. What causes that? 65 will be the high, and then 68 on Friday, Saturday 65, and Sunday 70. The Buck story, I think, really speaks volumes. Buck, who, as we have said, everybody's had problems with Buck, but he announces he's not going to be seeking reelection. And he has this sharply worded statement explaining his decision. He blames election deniers, his words that have been embraced. Too many Republican leaders are lying to America. So well said. Claiming the 2020 election was stolen, describing January 6th as an unguided tour of the Capitol, asserting that the prosecutions are weaponizing our justice system. He goes on to say these insidious narratives breed widespread cynicism and erode America's confidence in the rule of law. I could not agree more. And so, now what? He is not running. And again, pending, if you think about this logically, the people that Buck is talking about universally, there's been a huge lawsuit settlement from Dominion going to be awarded $787.5 million from Fox News for lying. And if they could defend themselves with all of your radio heroes, why did they not? All right, here we go to work. This is James. James, thanks for waiting, man. Good morning. You're on the show.
Morning, Pete. How are you doing?
I'm good, actually. Thank you.
So you asked a question right before going to break. I would like to say that your producer might become a better professional aggravator than you.
No. You want me to hang up? You want me to hang up? Don't go after Billy.
So,
all right, take your call. Go ahead.
Okay. So you asked the question, why is anti-Semitism raising its ugly head again?
Yes.
My mother, who converted from Catholicism, has a tongue-in-cheek theory. Her tongue-in-cheek theory is, as the chosen people, there can be only so many of us. My take on that is, as the chosen people, we must be kept humble. But why is the anti-Semitism raising its ugly head here in the United States on college campuses and such, where the baby boomer generation is not and is aghast at what's happening here in the United States, such as yourself, you're aghast at what's happening? It's because the younger generation doesn't know what it took to establish and defend the nation of Israel.
Let's stop.
Back in the 60s and 70s.
But remember, most of this, Cornell's the worst example of all, but on these universities, they are heavily influenced by professors. And, like the average, say, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid who's a welder or, whatever he's doing away from universities. He's not doing this. He's not out there.
Right.
Now, in Europe.
Well, they're too busy working for a living. Okay.
Yeah, but when you see these on universities where, again, you have people that are teaching, and this is one of the, I always enjoy listening to them talk because there's a mindlessness that goes with it, but
right.
So
it's a herd mentality. It's a herd mentality.
Yeah, but the left has always been, I shouldn't say always been, because the left after the Second World War was extremely supportive of creating the state. And then
that's correct.
And then it turns into the Israelis become all the different things that the Israelis get accused of. And so it is popular on college campuses to talk that way. and to act that way, that the Palestinians are, you know, and again, whether you believe it or don't believe it, doesn't matter. But these guys, I mean, the threats and they're putting out.
What happened at Cornell, Pete? I believe the kid is Asian. Okay, and what happened at Cornell more than likely appears to be a result of severe depression and lashing out against his own wife.
But he's not alone.
And picking. Right, he's not alone. That's right. He is not alone.
He's not alone.
The barricade situation that happened at Cooper's Cooper, whatever.
Yeah.
That was more shocking to me.
Well,
That incident is more shocking. But let me say this: what you're saying about the college kids is, in my opinion, reinforcing my point that they have not been educated. They don't know the history, and they're not being taught the history by the far left that has taken over as instructors in our colleges and our universities and our high schools.
Well, but they're called.
And as for the far left, or as for the left, not the far left, but the left supporting Israel and its establishment, but not supporting it as much now, it's because the left likes to support what they see as the underdog.
Let me slow you down.
Okay.
There's all kinds of levels of what is going on.
Yes.
The conflict that starts in October. So you got Jews, you got Palestinians, you got Muslims, and this horribleness begins. That there and now Joe Biden asking for a ceasefire, and Netanyahu says no, we're not going to have a ceasefire. So the Cornell students, which is a separate but equal, they get targeted. This is the same thing that has happened many times on university campuses, but now, you know, with political correctness and everything that's in play, if you are to go there and you're teaching, you know, I don't care what you're teaching, history, math, it doesn't matter, teaching mathematics, and you are pro the state of Israel, they're going to come after your job. We watched it. I saw this thing the other night where they're melting the statue of Robert E. Lee, and I'm thinking, you know, what allowances are taking place? And the answer is there's no allowances. So, but why does it spread? This is my question. I wrote myself on a worksheet. It's one thing to argue about Israelis and Palestinians and Zionism and all of that. It's another thing for a kid to have to take a yarmulke off in New York to ride the subway. And therein is the question I have that I don't have an answer for.
Jews have always been the other.
Always.
Since the diaspora.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
We have been the other. Within Judaism, within the Jewish people, the Falajin were the other until archaeologists or whatever discipline that is from Israel went into Ethiopia and researched what these people were, what their religion was, and realized these are not just Jews. Their Judaism is older than our Judaism.
Yes.
It's more pure.
Is that called? That's
okay.
They're the black Jews, right?
Yes, the lost Jews. Falajin means lost.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't know that word, but I know the theory of the black Jews.
Right. So, it's not a theory; it's established.
No, I apologize.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
So, why the Jews? It's because we are the other, and it's easy for people,
but also
when traumatizing events occur, to blame somebody else,
but also
and to blame the weaker than they.
Well, but remember the role that Christianity plays in it with the blood taint. And that was used that Judaism killed Jesus, who himself was a Jew, but it doesn't make any sense unless you see it through their eyes. We were talking.
And what you're bringing up there is, mother, I want to F you. Father, I want to kill you. That's Christianity, the child of Judaism, trying to kill its father in establishing its own separate identity as a religion.
And again, you go back, even something, and I was trying to have this discussion with somebody, from the protocols of the elders of Zion, manufactured by the Okhrana, the Tsar, Nicholas's father, and they write
Right.
this. It is still one of the number one, or is the number one bestseller in the ME. At the
Now you're
same,
going back to the reason I'm here in the United States. Go back to the Russian pogroms.
well, the
That's what my
pogroms.
father's father was leading.
What they did with the pogroms, and they did them in Poland, they did them in Ukraine. I mean, we're right now in
Austria, Russia,
sure.
yes.
But those, they, like some Polish aristocrat would get into debt to the bankers, and he didn't want to pay them back. So
But why were they the bankers? Because the Catholic Church had made banking illegal for
that's
a long
right.
period of time.
Absolutely, they were not allowed, and they were there. But you couldn't own land, you couldn't own property.
That's right.
But you could
Right.
you could bank.
You could own your mind.
Yes, you could. James, a great call, man. Really good call.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Take it
Thank you.
easy.
Folks on the phone, stay right there. We're doing a turnaround on Peter Boyles in for George Brauchler. He's back tomorrow, 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station.
Hi, this is Congressman Ken Buck. After careful consideration and much prayer, I have decided not to seek a sixth term in the U.S. House of Representatives. To the people of Colorado's 4th Congressional District, thank you for sending me to Congress. I'm grateful for your support as we have fought against the left's policies that have had real-world consequences, defunding the police, politicizing student loans, provoking inflation with excessive spending, creating open borders, decimating our domestic energy production. Americans are rightfully concerned about our nation's future and are looking to Republicans in Washington for a course correction.
Ken Buck. Good morning, everyone. It's a Thursday. I'm Peter Boyles in for George Brauchler. He's back tomorrow, Thursday morning, the second morning in November 2023, 710 KNUS Weather Center weather. It's beauty. 65 today, 68 Friday, Saturday 65, and on Sunday 70 degrees. Ken Buck pulls the pin. My phone blows up yesterday afternoon with calls and texting. But why does Ken Buck say he is quitting? And this is the significant part of this. Ken Buck won't be seeking re-election. In a very sharply worded statement explaining his decision, he blamed the election deniers that have been embraced by his fellow conservatives. Quote, too many Republican leaders are lying to America. I think that covers talk show hosts, Fox News, a list of people, claiming that the 2020 election was stolen, describing January 6th as an unguided tour of the Capitol and averting the prosecutions or weaponizations of the justice system. I have had problems with Ken Buck in the past. I think many people have, but boy, is that true. No truer statement has been made. Now, we are talking about that. And also, as I put on my worksheet last night, why has this violent anti-Semitism that's reappeared, where is it coming from? And why now again? So, two good on-airs, 303-696-1971. Let me read the wall a little bit, and then we will go to the phones. Pete, of all the unrest in our country, including the attacks on Israel, as part of the Marxist cultural revolution, our universities have been turned into indoctrination centers by Marxist professors. There was a great line, the only place that communism is alive and well in the world today is on American colleges and universities. This one, Hillary continues to claim the 2016 election was stolen from her. No, she doesn't know it anymore. Al Gore claims he won. He probably did. That's the bottom line on Al Gore. Trump claims he won. We, the people, lose. No, Hillary, as the story goes, and it's been chronicled, they're in the Javits Center in New York. She's half in the bag. And this is the story. It's been in that one wonderful book called Glass Ceiling. We're shattering the glass ceiling about her. Shattered, I think, titled the book. Geez, work it right, Peter. But the Saudis had sent her as a gift. They're banking on it too. They sent her like this, I don't know, very special flat screen TV that, could clarity. And I think many of them are like that today, but this one was there. She's baked, as the story goes, and they've never denied it nor sued anyone. There was a sheet cake on the table, and as the story goes, she's half in the chute. She picks it up, hucks it into the big screen TV, and there's Podesta is there, Bill Clinton's there, and she's not going to relinquish to Trump. She's just not going to throw her, going to say, yellow flag, you win, see ya. And it takes a phone call from Barack Obama, again, according to what I've read. And he says, look, get out there, call the man up, tell him you lost, and go out there and face the crowd. Well, she was too cooked to face the crowd, so Podesta goes out. But she does apparently then call Donald Trump and say, and concedes, which obviously doesn't reappear. But so she does not claim she won the 2016. She had this moment where she claimed it. Trump, Al Gore claims he won. He probably did. It's like Poppy Bush's court. does a favor for Georgie. What a mistake. Living with that. Trump claims he won. Yeah, well, claims don't mean anything. It's like when I got sideways, when my close personal friend, John Eastman, when John talked about affidavits, and I said, hey, cool, I'll sign you one that says, I saw Bigfoot. And then he said something, and that was it. So, he's getting his crank yanked right now in California, and he's also been RICO'd. All right. So you pick them, I'll play them. This is Frank. You're on a radio show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Peter. You
Hey,
sound better today than the last time we spoke.
Hey.
You're getting better every day.
Thank
Good.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think JFK didn't win either. So, this is an ongoing thing forever in our country.
Kennedy, hang on, two things. Kennedy is West Virginia is the place to look for that. And then Cook County. And
yeah,
I there's no doubt. Sure. Or yeah. Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah. Anyway, I called because you're talking about Buck, and I think Boebert is in there too. And I forget the third guy's name who voted against
McCarthy.
The speaker, McCarthy. Yeah. And I'll be honest, politics is so far beyond me understanding it that I'll never understand it. But I don't really understand those three people are all from very different perspectives, obviously, and they all voted against McCarthy for what reason?
Boebert did not. No, hang on. Boebert did not.
No, she didn't vote. That's right. But
which you would have thought. We'd have thought that she would have voted as Buck did, and Buck would have, but it was the other way around.
But she essentially said, though, that she was held in reserve in case they needed her, which was, who knows. Anyway, the thing is, I think all those guys are facing serious challenges, not only in the Boebert probably not in the Republican Party.
Ooh, I think so. Boebert's got big problems.
But not inside the Republican Party too?
Inside a challenge out of her district. She is.
Yeah, well, I think she'll probably lose to a Democrat.
Hang on, let's go slow. Not necessarily to a Democrat, because, when you see guys like Bill Owens and others who are now endorsing her potential opposition, and the money's flowing. I
wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, Owens came out a bunch of.
Well, either way, it's going to go Democrat. That seat is. I mean, they've got
that's not assured.
10 times as much money as she's got and all that.
Listen,
the big money's coming from out of state, and
it's not assured.
Colorado's screwed.
Frank, go slow. That's not assured. I mean, if she is challenged and beaten in a primary, I mean, that's always kind of been a Republican seat down there, and she's made a fool of herself, is what she's done.
Yeah. Again, I don't understand it. It's kind of funny to me how rhino, the definition of rhino has changed from you're not conservative enough to you're not Trump enough.
Well, that's right.
And our definitions change on us so often that it keeps us to the point where we have no idea what's going on half the time.
Well, again, if I can just exchange with you, and I've had this conversation. If you say Donald Trump lost the election, then immediately in the minds of these Republicans, then you become a Biden supporter, or you become whatever the hell they call you for. And this is what's happened when you read Buck's statement. Buck says, look, the unguided tour of the Capitol, which is no question in my mind, Trump's role in that, the weaponizing the justice system, these criticisms, if you yeah, that's probably true, then you must support Joe Biden, which isn't true.
Well, I can't deny what you're saying because it's what you believe.
It isn't what I believe. It's the truth.
Okay, well, you believe the truth then. So here's the thing. I'll tell you what I believe, and it may be true, may not be true. I think I'm strictly I'm an engineer. So as an engineer, I look for results, and I look at things like the border, taxes, the Abraham Accords, no wars, inflation, energy, and all those things Trump had it nailed on. And the rest of it, like his personal lifestyle or whatever, I could really give a rat's butt. Even Bill Clinton, as much as I haven't voted for Democrats since Jimmy Carter, But even Bill Clinton, with all his liaisons, in my mind, he was still a decent president. He'd still accomplished the things that some of the things I just listed. And it's unfortunate that, there's so many people that, whatever's on TikTok is the way they vote.
No, listen, again, could I slow you down and ask?
Sure.
What happens is, and I voted for Donald Trump twice, but it's these last almost 3 years that it's intolerable for me. I can't look at it any other way except, look, these people attempted to usurp the Constitution, the very fiber, the backbone of our nation. These people attempted to usurp it. To me, it ends right there.
Okay, but let me ask you this. I'm not going to challenge you on that.
You do what you want to do.
To be honest, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to challenge it. I just told you. But my question is, what has happened to your sense of fairness? So,
what fairness?
I'm talking about before October 6th now. Okay, before October 6th.
October 6th.
I'm sorry, I said October 6th. I meant January 6th or whatever it was.
7th.
October 6th was the Israeli thing.
Okay.
So before I'll use your words, the insurrection, whatever it was, had he done a good job? I mean, obviously
I voted for him twice. I told you.
I know, but I'm asking you though, had he done a good job on the border tax, the Abraham Accords?
I got to tell you one more time. Me voting for him the second time means I thought he was doing a good job.
Yeah. So you're on the same page with me that you look at results. You're a results person. You don't really care about personality, that kind of stuff.
Of course I do.
Is that fair?
It's important. No, look, if you're looking for, and this is the Irish thing about who do you vote for, who steals the least and lies the least as your candidate. Now, having said those things, first of all, Joe Biden is frightening, but I thought Trump did a good job. I voted for him for the first time and the second time, but these last 3 years, Frank, and I'm going to give you the last comment, you just literally can't look at this and try to understand exactly what they attempted to do to the Constitution, the very fabric, the backbone, the meaning of the nation. They tried to usurp the Constitution. You can have the last comment if you will.
Well, I'm going to make a comment. I don't necessarily agree with what your last comment.
Well,
I'll say this. I'm back. I'm interested in one thing, and making our country run great again, and that's the border tax, Abraham Accords, the no wars, inflation, get energy prices back down. I could give a rat's butt about the rest of it.
Well, then you're missing the boat altogether, because this country is about exactly what they attempted to overthrow. Now, we're done. Thanks for your calls. Well thought out. We go to Tom. You're on a radio show. It's Thursday morning. I'm Peter Boyles, in for George Brauchler. Good morning.
Peter, good morning.
Hey.
Well, I want to do a couple things. I just sent you a kind of an interesting 24-minute video on Democrats denying elections, and it goes back to our history. But more importantly, I want to speak about Ken Buck. I know Ken. I've helped fundraisers for him. He's a deeply principled guy. And when he stood up with those other Republicans, and they knew what was going to happen, these guys, I travel to D.C. I do some legislative work from time to time as a businessman. You watch how the sausage is made. And when Kevin McCarthy made that agreement, he didn't abide by it. And so Matt Gaetz and his crew stood up and said, we're not doing this. We're not passing continuing resolutions and throwing money around. They wanted to stand on a principled platform. Don't spend that money. You're going to do exactly what you said in your agreement to become Speaker of the House. He broke that agreement, and Ken stood on that side. And I think from guys like us, you saw the mob mentality of the right throwing a fit over that. I understand that from a political standpoint, that you want to keep the party united. But we've got a better speaker now. And at the end of it, it looks like a genius move from where I stand.
When Buck helped block that you're right about that, Jim Jordan from winning the leadership after Kevin McCarthy was deposed from the top spot, there weren't many. What I thought was fascinating is Buck votes like you'd think Lauren Boebert would. Boebert votes like you think that Ken Buck would. No, am I making this up? No. And so,
No, it's true.
and
you
so,
look at everybody when people can shuck votes, and you've seen it, Peter.
yeah.
If I make sure that it's assured one way or the other, I'm going to vote for my best position to keep me in office. And it happens.
Well,
It happens every day. It happens on every vote, so people can't get tagged.
All right, let me. First of all, I love the call. Why did he quit?
You know what? When I would see him in D.C., you watch what goes on out there. It's ridiculous. It really is.
Oh, of course, but
I mean, our government was designed to work that way, and I think sometimes after a while, you either morph into that place or you want to get away from it. And I think he's done. I think he's had enough of it. He's watched the spending. More importantly, I think of anything, he was tired of the spending.
And he claims, Tom, listen to him. He gives you his reasons. He says the GOP is a bunch of liars.
Uh-huh.
And to you,
and no, that's very true. We didn't listen. Donald Trump lost because of the way he ran his campaigns.
Yeah.
And the independents and independent women do not like Donald Trump. And they swung against him. They despised him.
Yeah.
And granted, the Republicans have to fight the media because the media is overwhelmingly left. We get that. And you've got to run to those people. You got to run a smart campaign. And he didn't do that. And then the lashback by some of these people that came out with some of these. There's a right way to protest an election and a wrong way, and he went about it the wrong way, and all the people did.
But
I mean, I was a HAVA guy. I was part of the Help America Vote Act, and I would go sit in polling places back in 2000. And that stuff's gone away now, and so we people need to be interactive on voting day, and we can do as much as we can to help with to calm the vote down, because we've seen it throughout history. I know we'll talk about it until this country goes away. There's always going to be these kind of issues on election day.
No, well, there's a yes and no to all of this. There is no question. We were talking the other day when there's a thing that Dick Wadhams and I did. Any of the Carnot books on Lyndon Johnson, Master of the Senate, and those Lone Star Rising. But when Lyndon Johnson, and there was a place called Duval County, it's in Texas, and the political boss of Duval was, and why I remember this, I can't tell you, but the guy's name was George Parr. And they called him, interestingly enough, the Duke of Duval County. And he delivered, according to, these historians, dead Hispanics voting in alphabetical order. And I'm not making this up. And that's where he got the name. He got Landslide Lyndon came out of that. And so the Kennedys really begins in West Virginia.
Chicago.
Then into Chicago.
I mean, they used Sammy Davis. To pieces, and they threw him away.
It was Joe Kennedy.
Some of the atrocities.
Joe Kennedy.
Exactly.
He was engaged to marry a white woman. Joe Kennedy said, "We don't want him there." But the really important one, that's so good. We're coming up on the anniversary of Jack Kennedy's murder. Wow. But in West Virginia, when his opponent wasn't Lyndon Johnson, it was Hubert Humphrey. And Humphrey was this brand new anti-Dixiecrat, liberal, that he really was at that time. So they go into West Virginia, and Jack is, of course, a Roman Catholic. West Virginia is a very pro-Protestant, anti-Catholic state. So the mob, and this is through Joe Kennedy and through, Sinatra and that whole deal, the mob, and there's dirty coal mines, dirty sheriffs, very Matewan, all those places, Logan County. And they go in and they rig it. They throw it for Jack. And Jack, the Roman Catholic in West Virginia, beats Hubert Humphrey. He never is beaten again. He comes out of that as to prove that Protestants will love a Catholic, which you do what you want to do with it. But that's where he did the turnaround. And that was dirty. And then when they got to Cook County and back to Mayor Daley and the machine, they delivered for him in the national. And Richard Nixon knew it. I mean, but Bobby Kennedy's such a heel that Nixon had been seeing a psychiatrist about all of his issues. Bobby Kennedy tells him, you press me, my brother, and we're going to out you for seeing a shrink, which back then was, and Nixon.
The end of it.
That's right. So that's what if that's your point, and it's my point as well, how underhanded all of it can really truly be. But something,
Sure.
as Joseph Heller said, something happened. Buck, why do you think he made the decision? Seriously.
I'm telling you, from what I know of him, and he is a principled guy, and people are bashing him pretty hard, but he really is a principled guy.
There's people upset with you. Here's here's one from a 419 area code. Ken Buck, deeply principled? ? That's aimed at you.
You know what? But yeah, exactly. What the guy stood up and he said, that's enough.
Yeah.
People don't. I mean, I'm a C-SPAN watching guy. I've helped write legislation. I watch this stuff, and I understand these guys. Look at our spending. I wish people would go to the debtclock.org and look at it and understand that every child born today is born $100,000 in debt
in the hole.
Country. Yeah, and that's not including the unfunded liability.
First breath, you're in the hole. Yeah, no,
exactly. And like Ken and everybody else said, this is enough. Now we're getting freestanding bills out of the House.
All right, one more final.
Going to be
who
direct. Go ahead.
Who can take his place?
That's to be determined. The sheriff out there, we've got a couple.
No, sheriff's out. Sheriff and I are friends. He's not in.
Yeah, the minority House Speaker may do it.
All right.
So,
see,
there'll be some more coming out.
Well, this radio station, the mother of all battles, right? But Deborah Flora resigned yesterday, and she has her eyes on the prize. I'm sitting in his chair right now. And I'm not sure George isn't going to run. Matter of fact, I think he tends to want to. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of floaters out there, but I don't know. See, if you go up there and run, if you go, well, Donald Trump really lost, you may lose that seat. There it is.
Well, that's true. I mean, every demographic comes with its own arguments. Look at AOC's district, right?
Oh.
You're going to have to be half crazy to be there, right? So,
well, that's openers. Take the last comment. It's a really good call. Take the last comment if you would.
The last comment be, first off, Peter, on your retirement ceremony, I left you the book, The Bike Riders by Danny
You know
Lyons,
what? That's of course. I mean, actually, it's my second unbroken copy of that. That's now a movie coming out. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah, and the prices of those books have gone through the roof. I have 2 books.
I have 2.
And I wanted to give you one as your gift, and I was like,
I love it.
Yeah, well, that's good stuff. Anyway,
by the way, if you ride, what do you ride?
Oh, I'm a Harley rider. I got a low rider, and I had a Borgette. I sold that a couple years ago because as a grandpa, I don't think I need that anymore.
Me and Roger Borgette. I still talk to Roger.
I know it's funny. He's got a little office over there in Wheat Ridge now or something.
No. He's in Southern Colorado. He and his wife and the kids.
He's down in Durango, but for a time he had a little place over there. I could see my bikes.
And we were going to do a reality television show. I was with him on that, and Roger, and he is one of. Just for take a second. I'm sorry on the break, Billy. Roger Borgette, legitimately a genius.
Yeah.
And and then. Everything spins into whatever it spins into, but
divorce and away it goes. Yeah.
I had a chopper. I had 2 choppers. And then my final bike I had was a bobber. Roger built me a bobber. And I wish this is one of those bikes everybody says you go through life buying the same bike. Right. But, God, I loved that bike. And I let it go during my divorce, and I shouldn't. I kicked myself. I should still have that bike. It was a Borgette chopper. Woo!
Well, there you go.
Oh,
good stuff. Good memory.
You too, brother, man. Thank you. 303-696-1971. The other question is this violent anti-Semitism. Where is it coming from, and why is it now? And of course, who can replace claiming the truth? The GOP lies to America. What are you going to do with Ken Buck? 303-696-1971. 1971.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Say goodbye to clutter and hello to convenience when you experience organization transformation in your home. Roll them out shelves. Your clutter transformation experts create affordable Colorado-crafted organized storage solutions. These custom options will maximize and organize your kitchen and bath storage as Roll them out shelves carefully designs and builds roll-out drawers to fit your space perfectly to clear the clutter. Contact owners Joyce and Brent at Roll them out shelves to schedule your free in-home estimate today.
Yeah, well, I have decided, Andrea, I'm not going to seek re-election. And
You too.
yeah, I am joining Kay and probably some others in the near future. But I've decided that it is time for me to do some other things. I'm always have been disappointed with our inability in Congress to deal with major issues, and I'm also disappointed that the Republican Party continues to, rely on this lie that the 2020 election was stolen, and rely on the January 6th narrative and the political prisoners from January 6th and other things. If we're going to solve difficult problems, we've got to deal with some very unpleasant truths or lies, and make sure that we project to the public what the truth is.
Well said, and good morning, everyone. On a Thursday, November the 2nd, 2023, I'm Peter Boyles in for George Brauchler. However, George will join us at 8 o'clock. He is in Utah, and he'll join us. And we'll talk about this and then his future as well. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather 65 today, 68 Friday, Saturday 65, and on Sunday 70. I'll be back with Stefan this afternoon at 4 o'clock as he's beginning to wrap it up. Our website, 710knus.com, and click on shows, click on me, and there's a shoot with Dick Wadhams and a column that I wrote. It is there as well. Let me read the wall to you. To continue, we all know the Biden administration will swing whatever way the wind blows, and they're scared of these college kids. That's my second question in the morning, having witnessed now this violent anti-Semitism. Where's it coming from? This is in this country and in Europe, and why now again? From Great American Eric, is Heidi Ganahl good enough for you? What does that have to do with me? But to run for phony Bucks Congress seat. The next one, in the past, far-right KKK targets blacks, Jews, and Catholics. Now the far left. That's really well said. That's very smart. Let me see. Texter from Toledo making comments about Ken Buck's character, 16 years in the House, and Jim Jordan has never passed a bill. You send them in, I'll read them. Next one. Work on his book From the Boulder Portalet Stowaway. Okay. 303-696-1971. We had first callers right away out of the top at 6. This is the moment. Lines are wide open. 303-696-1971. If you were calling and got a busy signal, call now. You'll get right on. The part of this, and there's two things, again, driving the show, but Ken Buck announces he will not be seeking re-election, and he tells the truth. Now, like all of us, I think anybody's had, issues with Congressman Buck, but God, is this true? Too many Republicans are lying. Bingo. And that's going to stop all of it. But unless you can pass the electric Kool-Aid acid test, and this is who's going to run for the seat, if you can't go up there and say the election was stolen from Donald Trump, they'll bang you. I mean, this is the official policy of the Colorado Republican Party that Donald Trump is the self-righteous president of the United States of America. And it's just not true. All right, first guy out of the box, 303-696-1971. Hey, Brian, good morning. You're on a radio show.
Peter, good to hear you again. I was a regular caller with your show.
Oh, you're kind. Thank you.
And, we used to go rounds over Trump and, kind of soured our relationship.
Yeah.
but it's okay because I respect you, Pete. He was one of the best short-term presidents we've ever had, is policy-wise. I didn't like all this stuff he did and said. It rubbed me the wrong way too. Policy-wise, you look at where we are now, it's a freaking disaster. So if we're gonna
and whose fault is that?
Oh, Biden and all his cronies, the people that are running the White House.
No, slow down again. I agree with you, but why? It's Donald Trump's fault that Joe Biden's in the White House.
I wouldn't go that far. I would say he made some missteps and he made some things. But my point with the election, Pete, is I'm not a guy running out there saying the election was stolen. but I'm out there saying a lot went on that wasn't on the up and up.
Then why weren't you
And so-
why weren't you testifying on behalf of Fox News if you know the truth?
I don't know the truth, Pete.
Of course
but
you
I
don't.
know.
Of course you
I,
don't.
and neither do you. Nobody
yes,
knows.
yes,
the
I do.
truth.
There is no evidence. I don't want to do this. I promised myself we're not going to start this up. All I can tell you is when Fox News paid Dominion $787.5 million to settle the defamation lawsuit, and I'm reading about Tucker Carlson now. They also face another $2.7 billion from another technology company called Smartmatic. These lawsuits are just beginning. Now, if you got to believe that Rupert Murdoch hired the best of the best. Why didn't they come and get radio talk show host or Mike Lindell or my best friend John Eastman, or go down and find these people and put them on the stand and say, okay, tell the jury what you got. And you know what? They didn't do it. Why? Even now here in Colorado with this idea to keep Trump off the ballot. No, but none of his lawyers are in there saying Donald Trump really did win. They're not saying it because he didn't win. We can just let it go and let's move on.
You're right. I don't want to. You want me to say something I don't believe?
I don't want you to say anything.
Let's just part ways. That you believe what you believe, and I believe what I believe.
No, I got the truth in my back pocket. You just have belief.
Everybody says that.
No,
everybody says
then
that.
Then where's the evidence, Brian, that you're right?
Oh, where's the evidence JFK was shot by more than one shooter?
Don't answer a question listen to me. Don't answer a question with a question.
Evidence.
Don't answer a question with a question. Answer it with my question. Why? Where's the truth?
I don't have the evidence.
Yeah, no, you don't. That's right.
So,
go ahead.
But my larger point was, Pete, because I don't want to relitigate this.
No.
But my larger point is people like Ken Buck lump me in with election deniers. I'm not an election denier. I just want free and fair elections on the up and up.
Oh, I get it.
And I think nefarious things went wrong.
Now you've started again.
The Republican Party's going to alienate me, Pete.
Brian, now you've started again. But, however, ... Listen, who can replace Buck?
Buck?
Who can?
Anybody.
Not anybody. Be realistic. Who's going to take the seat?
Well, that sheriff up there.
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the district, Pete, but I'm saying Ken Buck started whistling and singing a whole different tune and going on MSNBC and CNN Ken, and so he's just like he's just a part of the swamp now. I guarantee that guy ends up on some liberal show.
All things
How much do you want to bet?
No, I don't want to bet it. One way or the other. I don't care. My point is,
isn't he showing his cards at that point?
No, I think. Well, let's see what happens next. Unless you can see around corners, you may be possibly right. I don't know, but his statements about lying to America are the significant part of what happened. So let me do this. Let's drop it down just a little bit. Now, what happens in that seat? You have all these, and George is going to come on at the top of the hour. You have all these people jockeying. Do you have to, if you're going to run for that seat, do you have to be an election denier?
No.
You hide and watch.
No.
You hide and watch.
Well, I mean, they're going to come out of the woodwork.
Would you support someone who's running for that job and says the election was never stolen and Donald Trump lost? Would you support that candidate?
It would depend on other. If they said other things I liked, and
you know what, man? With respect, you're dodging and ducking. Answer me the question again.
If he said other things, Pete, that I liked, and that one thing he said, I would still vote for him or her. Yeah. If our only disagreement was the election, but we agreed on everything else, Pete, I would vote for him.
I'm reaching for the BS flag.
But I would, Pete. And that's the thing is, you and people like Ken Buck want to lump me in.
No, I don't,
because I won't take a litmus test for you,
Brian.
And that's what's destroying the party, Pete.
Brian, you're getting upset
you're
here.
Part of it.
Me. Thank you very much for making me a kingmaker an old man with a Saturday show. You take care of
But you're
yourself,
part
brother.
of the problem.
We're part of the problem. Hey, Ralph, you're on a radio show. It's all me, the part of the problem. Good morning, sir.
Oh, I'm part of the problem, too. I voted for Jimmy Carter back then, too.
Jimmy.
So we're old.
You know, I voted for Jimmy Carter, and that was a mistake. I should have voted for Gerald Ford, but go ahead.
No, I voted for Carter because Ford had pardoned Nixon.
There you go. You're absolutely right. Me too. Me too.
Well, and that was the point in time that the United States lost the rule of law. Because someone could be powerful enough, politically connected enough to be above the law.
Nixon was not above the law. That was the problem.
Well, yes, but excuse me. Let me step back one step.
Sure.
Ford's pardon.
Right.
Friend of mine was a protege of Al Haig.
Wow.
Who was you know who Haig was.
Yeah, I was with Haig in the Middle East, actually.
Okay, well, he was one of the fast burners from the Air Force Academy.
No, he's Army.
And no, Haig is Army. My friend was Air Force.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's probably too much. Well, he's dead, so it doesn't make any difference. But short of it was, Haig put together, or was the intermediary between Nixon and Ford, where Ford agreed to pardon Nixon quickly if Nixon gave him the White House.
No, the pardon comes later. No, that's, again, people have this history. The pardon doesn't come. There may have been some verbal this and that and the other thing, but Gerald Ford did not pardon Richard Nixon until Richard Nixon was in San Clemente.
That's correct.
And the
time was 11 days.
I don't. Was it okay? No, was it that long? But indeed, but
yeah, I think it was 11 days. I've heard as short as a week, but not with any facts behind it. So let's just say 11 days. It's passed.
Fair enough.
That's how politics works.
Fair enough.
And fundamentally, what that established, though, is if you're powerful enough and connected enough, you can get pardoned no matter what.
No, the deal, listen to me. Again, I'm a geek about this, and it sounds like you are as well. Had Nixon, Gerald Ford, to me, Gerald Ford did two things that cost him his political career. One was he would not renew the bombing in Southeast Asia.
Correct.
He would not get America back into the war. The war was over, and the NVA was coming down Rural Route 1. The Arbans had folded, and they were rolling into Saigon. And all the hawks in the Senate and the House wanted him to renew bombing and everything. He said no. The second one was pardoning Nixon. Both of those were the absolute, in my mind, the right things to do, and it cost him his career. And
okay, we'll leave that in the past. Right. I disagree on both of those points because I was how shall I say, I was on my way back to Southeast Asia.
Okay,
if that had happened.
All right.
Okay.
Did you go?
Did
you go? Yeah.
No. The thing was, the decision not to go back was the correct one in my mind, and let's just leave it there.
Mm-hmm. What job? What was your job? What was your job?
I spent a few months as the director of intelligence for Igloo White. Doesn't mean anything to you, but
were you in the CIA?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was in the Air Force.
All right.
Then it was highly classified. It was what gave us all of the sensors.
Okay.
That we're now using.
Okay.
We bugged the Ho Chi Minh Trail, also known as the Pinball Wizards of Nonsanat.
Sure.
Anyway, my point is, what you're looking at today, to me, seems like pure, how shall I say, let's follow the money. The biggest thing that Trump is upset about may be the fact that there was a receiver appointed and then unappointed, it's on stay, to take over Trump Tower. I'm not talking any of the January 6th. What I'm talking about is simply the, how shall I say, inflation of values that is now already.
I got to warn you.
by
I got to warn you. We're on the clock right now, Ralph.
Okay.
This is a great call.
I'll be.
Okay.
Let me be very quick about
right.
it. The short of it is, Trump is going to lose Trump Tower. Trump is also going to lose on the documents case, I believe.
I think so too.
Therefore, what is the way, if you were Trump's lawyer, unscrupulous lawyer, what is your advice? The advice is to destroy the rule of law, to destroy the system. So what you have going on with the Republican Party is it is the sledgehammer that Trump is using to smash up the rule of law and the constitutional limits.
My prediction, and then I'll give you the final comment. He becomes the ancient mariner. And it's far worse than imprisonment. It's far worse than any of those kinds of things. You're ignored, and when the truth is found, and all the things that were going to happen will happen, he'll walk the earth, but the party itself, this is I got this really interesting attack, and I'll read it when we get a chance, but that's what happens. And it's almost McCarthy-esque, it's happened before, it will happen again. And one thing about Nixon is when Nixon leaves, he goes to San Clemente and he doesn't come back. And he writes his books and he makes his resurgence, but Nixon is interesting to watch, but he's not Trump, not by a long shot. Please take the last comment. I'd like to talk to you someday again at length. Ralph, take the last comment.
Okay. Nixon is, and I give him this, he went into being the loyal opposition to the American system. Trump will never go into being the loyal opposition to the American system. In order to survive, Trump must destroy the United States. End of comment.
We'll do it again. All right, Billy, take it away. And we got about 30 seconds on a Thursday morning. Peter Boyles in for George Brauchler, who's going to join me in the other side. We'll talk about his future, his role in all of this as well. 65 for the high, 68 Friday, and Saturday 65. Republican Congressman stepping down says the GOP's a bunch of liars. Brauchler coming up on the other side, 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Hang on here now.
Decided, Andrea, I'm not going to seek re-election. And
You too.
Yeah, I am joining Kay and probably some others in the near future. But I've decided that it is time for me to do some other things. I'm always have been disappointed with our inability in Congress to deal with major issues, and I'm also disappointed that the Republican Party continues to, rely on this lie that the 2020 election was stolen and Yeah, well, I have decided, Andrea, I'm not going to seek reelection. And
You too.
Yeah, I am joining Kay and probably some others in the near future. But I've decided that it is time for me to do some other things. I'm always have been disappointed with our inability in Congress to deal with major issues, and I'm also disappointed that the Republican Party continues to, rely on this lie that the 2020 election was stolen.
Really well said. Here we go again. Good morning. I'm Peter Boyles. George about to join us. It is a Thursday, 2nd of November, 2023. 65 today, 68 Friday, Saturday, 65, and 70 degrees on Sunday. So many names are being kicked around. Please say good morning and welcome into his seat. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. This is the Brauchler Show. This is George Brauchler. I'm Peter Boyles. We got an empty bunk in the old bunkhouse today where Deborah resigns yesterday. My boy, what's up? What do you think?
First, Pete, thanks so much for filling in. And I like these last 18 months, I've been sitting in your seat. So it's just weird to now be back to where we all began.
It's like, let me out of here. I'm coming back with Stefan this afternoon at 4. So
I'm sorry.
You remember that? You. All right. Now let us begin at the beginning. Did you know that he was about to do this?
No. In fact, I was just telling Billy off air that, I was outside a Hertz rental place getting a car drive to this thing in Utah where I'm at now, where I'm going to officiate a wedding later today. And I get a couple texts, and it's from political people, but political friends. And they're like, hey, man, just let me know what I can do to support you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's interesting, nice. I mean, I didn't think anything of it. About a minute later, I get a call from Marshall Zellger out at Channel 9.
Yeah.
Answer it, and Marshall's like, well, we're going to break some news. What's the word? And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, I don't know if you've heard, but Ken Buck has announced he is not running for re-election. I said, buddy, you just broke that news to me. I had no clue. And so he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, listen, I'm being completely candid here. And I've said this to everybody at the station, too, who have asked over months. Like, I didn't believe this was real because with all deference and respect to Ken, who I've known for many, many, many years, this little rumor and dance has been going on every cycle for 5 cycles. There's always been a rumor Ken's not going to run again. Ken's not going to run again. Ken's going to do something else. And I got myself spun up about it a few cycles ago. And then I thought, no, I'm not even going to really worry about it until something happens. Well, something happened. And so I told Marshall and others who have asked since, I'm like, look, I will do my due diligence and I'll seriously consider it. But I am not someone who was like, I had my ducks in a row and I was ready to pop smoke and resign, yesterday to go. That's just not how I've conducted my life.
George Brauchler on the George Brauchler Show, co-starring Peter Boyles on a really odd morning. Did Deborah know? It's not a question I'd like to talk to her, but she immediately resigned, which always leads me to believe that somebody knows something about something. And according to many rumors, her hat is in the ring that she's going to challenge.
Only Deb could answer that, Pete, but
sure.
I would say that the fact that she left when she did is not telling to me of anything because, as I said, this rumor about Ken has been out there every 2 years, the last 5 cycles. And so I know there are other folks out there who have been laying the groundwork for this. And I know that before Ken announced, Deb was out, talking to folks, and Heidi Canal's been out talking to folks. Richard Holtorf launched an exploratory committee.
Yep.
I had people from Douglas County talk to me about their own interests. So I don't think that tells me he knew. I would be disappointed if Ken went to Deb and told her and not me.
No, I don't mean it that way. I mean that she was good to go the moment that they got the news, where everybody's phones blew up, that she said, okay, this is what we've been planning on. I resigned, because you can't campaign and have a radio show. I mean, the law, when Tancredo did the roundtable with us at Channel 12, and he announced he had to go. And it is.
And I think folks should know too that the risk to the station in doing that isn't that there's like a law that absolutely prohibits it. It's that it says, hey, 710, if you let a partisan political candidate on to do this, other than in interview capacity, to host a show, you just have to give equal time to someone else. You have to the other candidates. And I think the risk there is if you're 710, you're like, why would I ever take that risk?
What's interesting,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, what's interesting to me, I talked to 1,000 people we both know, that this is sort of like the epicenter right now. Once again, 710 KNUS leading the league, but two of our guys, you and Deborah, and then Buck, who has had this interesting relationship with talk radio in general. And so again, I look
and you got Randy's the national commitment for the state of Colorado for the Republican Party. So you're right when you say, hey, there are folks at this station who are involved in these really relevant discussions. And you're right, 710. There's no other station out there like this, probably in America. That's my guess.
Thank God. So Buck announces, and he says he's sick of the GOP lying. Could conceivably someone who wants to run for that seat, must they say the election was stolen from Donald Trump?
I hope not.
Oh, come on.
Listen, yes, they can win it, but here's the bigger issue. Your question is super relevant to the primary, not to the general, and it's almost in reverse in general. The question is, can you become the Republican nominee and not think and not say that the election is stolen? And then the reverse would be true, I think, potentially in a general, although the numbers are so favorable for Republicans, it's such a safe seat. It's that how effective can you be and can you get elected if you announce for the general election that, yeah, I'm an election denier. I think Joe Biden is the legitimate president and that we've been living a lie for the last 4 years. I mean, God save Queen. I don't think that last part keeps you from getting elected, but I think it makes you a less relevant player beyond just the fourth CD.
I agree. And that makes, and I like Dave Williams, but that the Dave Williams part of the party would guillotine you if you would do that. And so one of the things Buck's saying that, I've had problems with Buck, but when Buck comes out and tells that's this moment of truth, that the Republicans are lying to America, I thought, wow, way to go, Ken Buck. But now whoever replaces Ken Buck or runs for that job, can they say the things that against what Ken Buck said? In other words, George Brauchler, Peter Boyles together again. So can you go up there and run for that seat and say, no, Donald Trump really won, all the different things that Buck laid out about January 6th and about the weaponizing of the Justice Department, all those things. He's telling the truth. But your thoughts?
Well, can you play a role in House leadership down the road? Like your first term as a member of the House, I don't know what the potential is for you to do anything there. But when you get to be in Ken's position and you're becoming a more senior representative, you're at fifth and sixth terms, you're looking at things like chairmanships of subcommittees or committees. And the question is, with the current leadership, could you ever make it into that position if you don't toe the line that, hey, the election was stolen? And I think Ken probably found out, no, you can't do that, amongst other things. But I think in part, it's like, we're not going to put you in there because you don't sing the song.
He did those interesting things. He helped block Jim Jordan from winning the speakership. He had voted against Kevin McCarthy. If you compare and contrast him to Lauren Boebert, you would think that she would vote like he did. He would vote like she did. It was the other way around. And then he goes back and he supports the new guy who is an election denier. So I'm thinking, Ken Buck, what's going on with you? But then he comes down to this moment. And by the way, Kay Granger was the chair of the House Appropriations, said that she would be leaving Congress. And maybe rationale goes out the window with all of it. But the next question is, I actually thought, because someone said, hey, George is going on the Capitalist show. And I thought, oh, man, tune in and see if you're going to jump the shark.
There's no chance I ever announce I'm running for office on air like that. I mean,
That's what I
wouldn't
thought.
do that. That's crazy. You know, Dan's been a buddy of yours and mine for a long
forever.
time. Hell, I worked for Dan 17
Yeah, I know.
years ago. He
I
taught
know.
me how to try civil cases.
Yeah, I know.
When Dan reached out and said, "Hey, man, have a conversation about the CD4 thing," and I was prepared to tell him largely what I told Marshall. I'm of course I'm going to consider it, and I'm flattered that my name would be floated out there, but I've made no decision. That may have turned out to have been just too much of a knee-jerk reaction based on the fact that I'm a big fan of Dan's and we're friends. And so when Kelly reached out and was like, "Dude, are you going to go on Capless?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, but it's to just talk." He goes, and I go, "Okay." And he goes, "You know, I have the conversation with Kelly that we have." And then I thought, well, man, why didn't Stefan call? Why didn't Stefan call to say,
he's
hey,
good. He's saying goodbye.
I'm doing a farewell tour.
Yeah,
Well,
he's saying goodbye
since 2021. But
yeah,
nonetheless, that's. I didn't end up going on Dan's show. I texted him like, "I'm sorry, I just got out over my skis on that." But you know, just for folks who are thinking about this race, I am incredibly ambitious. I am incredibly self-defined by my ability to make a positive difference in what I perceive to be public service in and out of uniform. And that's why this thing is intriguing to me. But I'm going to be very candid with everybody there. This is not obvious to me. And it's not obvious to me not because, hey, this is a once in a decade or so opportunity to be in a super safe Republican seat. If that was my priority, then absolutely, man, I'd ditch the show and I'd go do that. But one, I love doing radio. That's great. But two, I got 2 kids under the roof still, right? Like I got a sophomore in high school and an 8th grader.
Yeah, I know.
And I tell you, my first thought was, am I a better dad in the swamp than I am back here in Douglas County? That is a tough damn answer.
One of he's grown very close to me, and I respect him so much, is DMAC. And DMAC yesterday was announced that he's going to Altitude Sports, which is and you know what? Because he's got these great kids and a great wife, and he's a hardworking guy, and you can only cowboy so long. And one of my contentions is I've always cowboyed the business. There's no, I don't know anybody ever got a gold watch, but you're going to do that. And I thought to myself, I know you got, you're a family guy and you got to support everybody. I don't know. You got to have. Do you have to have a wallet? And you're just some old broke talk show host like the rest of us.
Yeah, I'll say this: self-funders obviously have a leg up, but I don't worry at all about my ability to raise money. I just
there you go. All right. So there's no deadline on this. It's a year away.
Well, there is a deadline. There is a dedeadline because
I know, but still,
once the field gets firmed up and all this, and I told Kelly, I'm like, and I told Brian back when there was a Brian, that I'm like, I'm never just going to show up and announce on the radio or, hey, here's my last day. I don't ever want to do that to these guys because it puts them in a really, really challenging place.
Yeah.
So I want to be deliberate about it. I want to think about it. I can't tell you that it's going to happen. And for folks that are following all the political stuff out there, it's not just CD4.
No.
There's a brand new, first time since 1963 judicial district that's being created next year in January of 25, right where I live. And so I've had a lot of people approach me about that too. And for the reasons I told you why Congress is attractive and yet still a question mark, man, you go do something else local, you get to go home every night. You get to see your family every night.
There's something that historians call belly fire. You have to have belly fire to want it. The best example is, I'm trying to think all of them are the best example that they have the belly fire to win at all costs because they want to go. And people have used that term many, many times. Do you have that? And in the ring, it's called a fighting heart. Do you have a fighting heart?
If belly fire presupposes that you're willing to sacrifice everything else in your life to accomplish that goal, then I tell you right now, I don't have that belly fire. But if I get into this race, am I in it to win it, and will I out hustle everybody else out in the field? And I mean this with the greatest respect to and everyone else. I don't have any questions about it. Anybody that doubts what I do, go back and look at the 4-way primary or assembly for district attorney in 2012. I didn't win by luck. And it was just hustle. So I'm not worried about that part, but I am worried about what you said. Are you willing to do anything and everything? I don't know, man. I mean, the congressman thing, I mean, name for me who the congressman in the 4th Congressional District was 20 years ago. You know, that means nothing. What does matter is I'm only going to be a dad once here to these kids. And, you know, I wish I could tell you I've been flawless and perfect as a family man. That would just be an overstatement. But that's the part that holds me back is what do I do when I'm gone half a month to a place where you've got this circus going on out there? Is the difference you're going to make out there bigger than the difference you'll make for these 2 boys in your house? I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm thinking.
There's bridges to cross, and it'll be interesting because this is me. I tend to believe you're going to run. Just you don't have to respond, but I tend to believe that. Deborah's out there. There'll be, as you pointed out, there'll be lines of people with their hands up, and one of the things we have seen with the Republican Party in Colorado, you can't get away with not repeating the line. I think it's one of Buck's points, but I tell you what, man, it's an interesting moment for you. It's a crossroads moment because and this is my opinion again, you're never going to have a better opportunity, you, George Brauchler, with an open seat, which doesn't ever happen, and I mean,
well, I agree with you this way. Short of scandal, whichever Republican wins this seat, it probably faces a primary challenger their first time out, but they're going to hold this seat for 10 to 20 years, depending upon redistricting.
Of course.
This is a generational kind of seat. And the third would have been too, by the way. But for all the stuff that has gone on with Lauren and others, it would have been a generational seat. So you're
cooked.
right, Pete.
Yeah, she's cooked. And now when you see Bill Owens and these other stalwart Republicans come out and endorse her opponent, I'm not a betting man because I always got scared money. But I tell you what, I don't think she makes the cut. I really don't.
I think she wins the primary. She just has too much money, too much name ID.
Let's see. What did they say? Let us go then, you and I. I don't think she makes the cut, but that's to be seen. And then comes, but anyhow, this is if there ever is a moment for Brauchler and his political career, this is it, and it's not going to get any sweeter than this one. And wow, I mean,
maybe,
let's see.
But then I have to give up sitting across from Billy every day, and you're doing it right now. You know how hard that.
Listen, I'll tell you what, brother. It's always fun to come back in there and sit down and watch it and listen to it and all the blame game and everything that takes place. But that's another one, and you're at a crossroads right now, my friend. You truly are. I mean, in all kinds of different places and ways, and you're carrying the weight of the world right now. Let's see what happens. Do not kid yourself. Do not.
Look, this is a conversation I could really only have with you in this particular way. It just wouldn't have made sense for me to just drone on my own show about it. I know. So thank you for giving me the chance to be interviewed on it, because I've given no interview like this to anybody else on it.
No, I know it. I mean, when real quick, and then Billy says break, but so my phone blows up yesterday when all this starts, and then it starts blowing up again when it says that you're going on the Capitalist show. And I went, and I'm sitting, my daughter and I, we're doing these George, this is where I am. We're doing these hyperbaric treatments. We're going to talk about it this morning. And we go together and then, so I'm in the hyperbaric chamber and my phone will work. When I listen, I can stream Capitalist. And and Danny's billboarding it, and I said, and I'm texting, I'm getting texts and phone calls. I'm in the tank. And I said, get ready. Because I really, honestly, I thought, I thought two things.
Listen, when you describe it like this, Pete, all of a sudden I realized, man, was I not reading the room at all about how any of this would play? For me, it was my friend Dan, who also advertises on the show.
No, he's my guy.
Dan,
he's my guy.
Wants to talk about this. And then when Kelly calls, how just a nice man. Kelly's just such a super nice man. But you can just hear it in his voice that he's like, so, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, no. I'm not, dude, I wouldn't do that.
Hey, promise me we'll go get lunch or something when you're home and everything straightens out. I had guys calling me, I think because I've got this part-time gig here and I know you and a fill-in. And they said, he's going on capless. He's about to announce. I'm going, what?
When you describe it like that, I'm sitting there thinking, I would have concluded the same thing.
Brother.
Like.
It was walks like a duck. I'm thinking,
right.
Oh, I'm thinking, like, ooh. And everybody, and then all of a sudden, Danny says, well, George canceled. And I thought, all right, and I wasn't even aware until actually this morning when I talked to Bill, but it was like, okay,
I just, whatever. I
feel
a bit like an idiot because stepping back from it, yep, I get it. I get why the 710 folks were like, what in the hell is going on?
Let me read you a text. Boyles wants his seat back, so he's trying to talk George into running. I love listeners.
Anytime you want it back, just ask me. You can have it back. I mean, I don't need to run for Congress for you to come back to radio.
No, but I love this. Boyles wants his seat back. Trying to talk George. Oh, God. Oh, never mind. All right.
We've been opening in the afternoon, Pete. Just saying.
I know there will be. Actually, the syndicated guys. Which is
3 to 4. Get your foot in the door. 3 to 4, my friend.
Get the Deborah show.
Well, it was until yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. Everything. The whole station blew up yesterday, and guys are calling me. Yeah, the only guy, the only person I did not talk to was Billy, who I should have called immediately.
Billy texted me and said, hey, there's some people here that are a little bit exercised. I'm like, I didn't go on capless.
No, I got to tell you, when we'll see each other face to face, I'll tell you who called and texted. It was like over the top.
Yeah, please.
Oh, guys that
I just feel like an idiot for never playing it that way. Just like, sure, damn, George.
I got calls from my friends in the newspaper business. Well, George, is he running? I said, yeah. I told him, yeah.
My goodness. Well,
thanks
for having me on, man. Thanks for covering. If I can get the equipment to work, I'll be live from Utah tomorrow.
There you go.
Otherwise, people will probably be hearing Pete Boyles.
See what happens next. Thanks, George. Talk to you.
All right, buddy.
303-696-1971. Let me see what this one says. There's some crazy stuff. Billy and I return right after this on 710.
Andrew, I'm not going to seek reelection.
You too.
Yeah, I am joining Kay and probably some others in the near future, but I've decided that it is time for me to do some other things. I'm always have been disappointed with our inability in Congress to deal with major issues, and I'm also disappointed that the Republican Party continues to, rely on this lie that the 2020 election was stolen and
Morning, everybody. On a Thursday, the second morning of November, Mark Crowley, Peter Boyles, Billy Thorpe together again. George, he said, if the equipment works, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Thursday morning, 65, the high 68 on Friday. Saturday, I'm here on Saturday, 9 o'clock show, and Sunday, 70. 303-696-1971. We're talking about Ken Buck, but also, and we've had one call on it, why this violent anti-Semitism, where's it coming from? Why is it back and why is it here now? So we go to the phones. This is Frank. Frank, you waited, appreciate it. Good morning.
Oh, hey, Peter.
Brother.
Hey, you know what I realized? This is the 2nd of November. That always makes me nervous because, man, this is the down the stretch to the year. But,
yeah, it is. You're right.
It really is. It makes that whenever I date something with November, I get a little nervous. But you know what? I think there's really 2 litmus tests here for that Buck seat, and I kind of agree with you. I think the primary litmus test is going to be do you believe the big lie? Yeah. And I think unless you have a candidate, a fairly high-profile candidate like Brauchler, who will shoot down the big lie, I think that that litmus test is going to get you a candidate in the primary that is completely unelectable or potentially completely unelectable. That seat's a little tricky because it's pretty solid.
But that's what this
in a general election.
Yeah, that's what this Republican Party has done. Tina Peters, I'll give you a list of these people. They are, it's almost Stalinist, that you can pass the test, but you are not the winning candidate, and they will die on their sword for their beliefs in the big lie. And so, and George actually got a real tough go round when he supported red flagging, and when Dudley Brown and those guys came after him, I brokered a meeting. I brokered a meeting between them, and George stuck to red flag, and they went after him. They and in some ways that's how Weiser won. It's like going back to, we talked about why is Joe Biden there? Because Donald Trump lost. It's a prize fight. Sometimes fighters win a fight, and sometimes fighters lose a fight. And I mean that figuratively. That, the Buster Douglas Mike Tyson fight. Mike Tyson lost that fight. Buster Douglas didn't win it. Mike Tyson lost it.
Here's what I think the Republicans have to think about. If they don't want to be relegated to near third party status, is that the second litmus test in my mind, and I think in a lot of voters' minds, is after the primary, my litmus test is that does this candidate believe the big lie? And if the answer is yes, I can't vote for him because I think they lack the intellectual capacity to hold that office. I think that they simply, and I think that that's how non-cult Republicans think, and I think that I know that's how unaffiliated think because I'm unaffiliated.
Well,
and if that's my litmus test, and that's what's going to make a difference. If the Republicans want to stick by these primary litmus tests of the big lie, you're putting candidates out there that are not electable, and you've got to think about that as a Republican.
Oh yeah, I
mean that's how it works.
Sure, and again, when I heard Buck say this yesterday, and I've had my problems with Ken Buck, I thought, wow, you spoke the truth. Now, see what happens to you now. But Buck has really been interesting these last couple of time periods. He helped block the Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan from becoming the Speaker in the leadership scramble after Kevin McCarthy was deposed. And Buck was also one of 8 Republicans, along with the Democrats, to vote to vacate. And then he, and it goes to this weird stuff. And now he votes for a guy who, to become Speaker, who is Speaker, who's an election denier.
Right. And that's, I think about that. What's the old saying about if the road has led us to this point where we have somebody who thinks the earth was created 6,000 years ago in 7 days, things like that,
I'm with you.
Then what use was the road? Because, and so you're right to identify that Buck seems to have taken a different path, but we got here one way or the other anyway. And it's a bad spot. I mean, that's where this is where you are. And so questioning whether or not the road made any sense for Ken Buck is almost beside the point at this point, because we are where we are, and it's not good.
Two things. I don't think there will be a Democrat replacing Ken Buck, and I don't think there'll be a Democrat replacing Lauren Boebert. The question is, will Lauren Boebert be there? And I'm really starting to believe she won't be. And Buck's not going to be there. So, but back to Brauchler, this is, and I believe George is leaning that way. There's never going to be a better opportunity for Brauchler or for Deborah or for whomever. It's an open seat in an almost guaranteed Republican seat. And now it's, I should have read this earlier. I have a really great friend who I will not name him, but he's one of the most wise people when it comes to politics. He sent me this last night, and I have this in here. Here it is. This is from my friend, and he said, talking about my response to those who ask about Buck's decision, quotes, "It will be a bloodbath primary to replace him, a race to prove who is more Trump, who uses more hairspray than the other, who has a tanning bed in their home, and who has more cheap-ass polyester red ties than the other." This is this guy's brilliant, sarcastic. I love him to death. But that was his response to actually the news being announced. I think that captures it. We'll see what happens.
I think so. I don't want to, obviously, George, this is a moment where George could, I really hope he says and does the right and intelligent things.
Well,
but it could serve as a little bit of a turning point, a chance to kind of heal away from the cultish Trump followers a little bit. That's what I think. This is an opportunity.
But who else is going to win? I mean, therein lies the problem. George crossed the Rubicon when he said, no, the election wasn't stolen. And then they rained hellfire and damnation on the morning show as if it never happened before. But now I'm catching it this morning. I'm going to start to read some of these things. It's just amazing what people can do. There's one that I don't know about, and it said, dead babies. I got one. Donald Trump has 0. I'm going, dead babies, because I always the court decision. Roe v. Wade was always going to be settled one way or the other by the court, and I had always said that. And this guy said, I don't know what he said, but final score: me and dead babies won. Donald Trump 0. I'm thinking, you really are stratospheric at that point, and but so I'm stuck. I really legitimately am stuck. It's it was somewhat unexpected, but
you know who I honestly, you just identified two obvious, Republican candidates in this state that aren't going to be there. I mean, one of them for certain, the other one most likely.
Yeah, probably.
And I keep thinking about how this is going to look, how like the presidential election is going to look, because we're closer to it than we think. Like I said, I'm dating things.
It's a year away. It's a year away.
And I honestly do not think that Trump is going to be the nominee. I think that there's too much static.
And Joe Biden, I don't think either one of them. I don't think Biden will be there, and I don't think Donald Trump will be there. But
in a year, the fraud case will be pretty much done, I think.
It's big trouble.
And that's that in the document case. The document case is practically self-proving. The fraud case,
the Georgia RICO is going to snag them all. But anyhow, Donald Trump's not going to be there. In my belief, neither will Joe Biden be there. Did you see Joe the other day? He said, he's with the podium. He says, "I want to go to bed."
Said that?
Yeah.
He said that?
He said, "I just want to go to bed." And I was, Joe.
I got to find that clip.
Joe.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And that's a really good one. And we were laughing.
That's probably the most honest thing he said in a long time.
When you look at him, I watched that thing that came up last night. Do you honestly think anybody's in there?
No.
I don't either.
I just don't know who the sock puppeteer is what it amounts to. I suspect it's Obama, but I don't know. But there is a sock puppeteer for Biden somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about Woodrow Wilson when he stroked, and what was his name? Well, wife's name will come to me. Comes to Wilson. Anyhow, but Colonel House, Edith. Her name was Edith. Edith Wilson and Colonel House would go in the other room and come back with signed documents. Wow, really? And no, serious. He was. Colonel House and Edith Wilson ran the country, and he didn't die in there. They eventually rented someplace, but Woodrow Wilson, for all intents and purposes, should have been replaced, but they would not allow it to happen, and they told somebody lies about his physicalities, and he had a right here in Pueblo, Colorado, in the back of a train. He took major stroke, and they hit him in the Oval. They hit him in the Oval Office. They hit him upstairs in the executive bedroom. But they would have legislation or proposals, and they'd say, "Wait one moment," and they go in the room, shut the door, and come back out. It was signed. Everyone, right. And the same thing was true with Bismarck in the end. That and when they get like that, they're putting stuff in front of him. He didn't know what it is, and it's sad, but
it'd probably be good for the country. Maybe I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's the 25th Amendment that allows you to
get him out of there.
Yeah, and it would be maybe good for the country if a trial run wasn't done on that one way or the other, because at least it warms the country up to that possibility. You can't have just empty suits as the president. I mean, it's not
especially right now.
Dangerous way to go.
Yeah, no, there are these theories that history occasionally will take a time out, like following Southeast Asia or whatever it is. It takes a time out. There ain't no time out now, and it's just this world is I think on a precipice that you and I can only not imagine, in the Middle East and Ukraine, all these different crazy places. And Joe Biden's in there, shoveling coal. And I'm thinking, who is telling you to do this? Because frankly, he's not smart enough.
No.
And even when the lights were on, I don't think he was ever smart enough. He was
if these parties are going to be running octogenarian candidates, this situation is going to arise again.
I'm an old man, and I know, your stroke leaves, you just can't do it. And come on, this guy, he is not in charge. And he just kind of looks like this hapless, aimless character why the Democrats cheer him on is beyond me. Billy's telling me a break is coming. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. 303-696-1971. Ken Buck will not run for reelection, criticizing the GOP and denying the election results. Also, why has this violent anti-Semitism come from? Where's it coming from? And why is it back again? And again, there's a difference, and I try and make it that this open hostile war between Hamas Palestinians and Israelis, both are Semitic people. But when it rolls into New York City and when it's in Europe, they're anti-Semites. And people putting swastikas on walls, and kids at Cornell University being afraid to wear yarmulkes and this kind of stuff. That's 1934. That's in the Reich. Why is it back again? Your thoughts, 303-696-1971. This is 710 KHOW. What I just say? I'm looking at my capless stuff here and giving me.
What the hell did you decide?
I just did KHOW. What I'm doing is reading the stuff about Dan and looking at KL call letters. 710.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Don't make it worse. 710 KNUS.
Decided, Andrea, I'm not going to seek re-election.
You too.
Yeah, I am joining Kay and probably some others in the near future, but I've decided that it is time for me to do some other things. I'm always have been disappointed with our inability in Congress to deal with major issues, and I'm also disappointed that the Republican Party continues to, rely on this lie that the 2020 election was stolen and
Good morning, everybody. It's a Thursday morning, 7:10, Denver's Talk Station. Thursday morning, November 2, 2023, 303-696-1971. This is the second time this morning. Lines are wide open. The topic is Ken Buck and what happens next. And the other one is significant, this violent anti-Semitism. Where's it coming from? And now again, 65 will be the high. I rode my motorcycle yesterday, 65, 68 on Friday, Saturday, 65, and on Sunday, 70 degrees. The local topic of the morning is Ken Buck, and he walks away and critiques the GOP leadership as lying to America. And it really begs every question that goes with that. Can somebody become the next Ken Buck as a Republican and not have to say the election was stolen from Donald Trump? It's called the stench of Donald Trump. And again, I look at guys talking about Brauchler and Deborah Flora. These are the two people I know, work with them, think they're both great. Deborah Flora's husband is like, it's this guy, Jonathan. He's really the all-timer. And somebody's going to have to step in there. The other part of it is, and again, it's far sadder, is this violent anti-Semitism. And as I was mentioning before we broke, the war in the Middle East is Israelis, Palestinians, and in some ways, these people are genetically linked. They're Semites. Not all Israelis are Semites, but some are. And that conflict is ageless. I just don't think, when people start talking about the two-state solution and all those things, I don't know how that ends or where that ends. But now this anti-Semitism, it's Cornell University. I'm reading about it. I mean, it's right out of the Heidelberg University in 1936. Cornell has canceled its classes for tomorrow to acknowledge this campus has been under one of the most, accused, I guess you got to say, of what's taking place. All right, we will take a quick turn. It's Thursday morning, and then load them up again. We'll take your calls or read the wall. 710 KNUS Denver's Talk. We're going to talk about the hyperbaric chamber in the next hour as well. Stay right here. It's a Thursday. Billy Thorpe, Peter Boyles, and Mark Crowley.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Say goodbye to clutter and hello to convenience when you experience organization transformation in your home. Roll them out shelves. Your clutter transformation experts create affordable Colorado-crafted organized storage solutions. These custom options will maximize and organize your kitchen and bath storage as Roll them out shelves carefully designs and builds roll-out drawers to fit your space perfectly to clear the clutter. Contact owners Joyce and Brent at Roll them out Shelves to schedule your free in-home estimate today.
Good morning, everyone. Peter Boyles in for George, unless the equipment breaks. George is back tomorrow morning. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station on a Thursday morning, November the 2nd, 2023. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather, 65 the high, 68 on Friday. This is beauty, 65 Saturday, and Sunday, 70. I rode yesterday. We'll get some riding weather in here. It has been great open lines this morning. We're principally locally speaking about retiring Republican Congressman Ken Buck slams the GOP for lying to America. The other issue, which I think in many ways is more important, is this violent anti-Semitism. Where's it coming from, and why now, and why in this country? And Cornell University has canceled its classes for tomorrow, and it's on college campuses. It's in Europe, and it's what is happening here, what is happening next. A couple of quick things. I do the Saturday morning show now at 9. And also you can go on the shoot with Dick Wadhams, I think is great. Go to 710knus.com and then just click on me. It comes down and the shoot is there. And also the column from the Chronicle about the misfit toys, and we're good to go. So I'm here Saturday morning as well, maybe tomorrow, but that's not my call. So anyhow, let me see. I don't know. There's two more nut stuff. How many of these pro-Palestinian protesters also supported Ruth Bader Ginsburg every time she came under? I don't know how to answer that. All right, we go back to Bama. There we go, my man. Bama, good morning.
Hey,
good morning.
Hey, Peter, glad to hear your voice again. Hey, you coming back?
No.
Oh, come on, Peter, you need to come back.
Yeah, make a comeback. You know what? This is Georgia's seat, so no. I mean,
yeah. Tell George to go ahead and win, so you can come back, take the seat. Hey, George, I know you hear me. You need to win.
George, a minute to win it. Yeah. Now we'll see. Yes. Go.
All right. Hey, Peter, I don't want to use the word anti-Semitism because it does not apply to these people. But the problem is, if you criticize Israel, they call you you are a Jew hater, which is totally crazy.
But
if that apply, Albert Einstein, so he's a Jew hater.
Well, stay here. Let's break this back. Let's break it all the way back. Hang on. Anti-Semitism has existed in Western culture way before the creation of the state of Israel. It exists under the Tsar, Richard I, the Spaniards. I mean, during the time of Inquisition, I give you a list. And matter of fact, one of the interesting attacks that came from the left was that Columbus really was a Jew, if you recall that. And so,
he was.
And indeed, there's a lot of evidence suggests that he may very well have been, but it doesn't matter. But anti-Semitism has raised its ugly head way before the Zionists, way before the UN creates the state. So, well, why is it all back now? Someplace like Cornell University, which is, you would think these are schools of open, free thought, and now they're shutting the school down tomorrow. Where's that?
The problem, Peter, is those people, they criticize the way Israel behaves. And once you criticize Israel, you are a Jew hater. This is the problem.
But this all existed time and time again, way before 48.
Around in the 30s.
My heavens, no! During the time of the czars, during the time of Richard Coeur d'Alene, Richard the Lionhearted. It was all. And why?
Yeah, but they were hating Jews. That is true.
Hating.
Because hating and killing Jews. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But why that behavior back then? For them, it's because they control all the economy They control everything, and
these were people that were not allowed to own property. Were not allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about the treatment,
and you know, Europe was Catholic, and to them, Jews killed Jesus.
Well, again,
So
if you
that
read,
was another
and I'm
reason.
going to add one more to it. If you ever sat down and read Martin Luther, who is the first, Luther becomes a horrible anti-Semite in his writings. Luther condemns Jews, and this is the father of the Lutheran Church, the father of the Protestant Reformation, along with Henry, condemns this. I mean, it's Luther.
Do you know why?
Well, it's part of their. It's part of the belief. Sure, the Jews killed Jesus.
It's because Luther he translated the Bible into German, and that's when he understood what was in the Torah. That's what pissed him off. That's where his problem started.
No. Remember, he's a Catholic monk. Luther, when he breaks from the, actually marries a nun. When he breaks from the church, he doesn't start out this way. And I'm kind of a Luther reader, but he slips into it. And the roots of what happened in Germany to Jews, you can read it when you read the Grimms. You can read it in Luther. You can see it actually. But what's really interesting, it's like during the time of the Ottomans, Arabs and Hebrews lived close. They seemed to get along under Kaiser Bill, the World War I Kaiser. If you're going to be if you're being a Jew living in Europe, you're better off under the Kaiser than you would be in France, for instance, after Dreyfus. So, but why? Why now? Because these people, these aren't anti-Israel. These are anti-Jewish.
I don't think so. I don't think they hate Jews. No, it's Israel. Israel is the problem. If you criticize Israel, you hate Jews, which is totally sickness. It is sickness.
But Cornell was really only one of many U.S. colleges and universities that have become fraught with this. And occasionally professors and high-profile donors voice these stances and about the Palestinians. And then what happens next? Well, under political correctness, when they start hunting for professors, other issues, and they would fire professors. So college campuses have always been like this weird place anyhow. But it's been the increases in these anti-Semitic incidences. What is that all about? It can't, rational thought says it can't be about the war, but there's something else going on. What is it?
It's, Peter, just like I said, it's because of the behavior of the Zionists, and nobody say nothing. Nobody say nothing. And if you criticize them, you are a Jew hater. This is the problem.
Well, again, but this is like,
Peter, how many Jews are against what Israel is doing? How many?
There's quite a few. If you look at the people inside of Israel, there's always been a movement, but it's dead now. That movement, Bama, died in October.
Peter, do you know Miko Peled? Do you know Shlomo Sand?
No.
Oh, this movement is way alive. It is way alive. They hate this behavior of Israel, and they are Jews.
No, well,
you're not gonna tell me they hate Jews.
One of the things when you see these demonstrations, huge demonstrations in New York or in London or in Paris, I wonder.
Well,
I wonder.
It is all tied to the behavior of Israel. It is all tied. If I speak out, that people will tell me, "Oh, I hate Jews, I hate Christians." I said, "Fine, okay, fine, but I will express my mind. I know Jews and Christians, we live together back in Africa. We don't have no problem. We don't have no problem at all. But people can say whatever they want."
But as always, what happened in Europe. I mean, way before anyone dreamt of Zionism or the return. These people, I mean, what the Tsar did, what the Polish aristocracy did, what Ukrainians did, what Spaniards did, what Portuguese did, what the French, that has nothing to do with creating the state. Nothing to do with it. Why is it always there?
Back then, it was for religious reasons.
No, it was
economical reasons.
Well, they blamed, it was called the blood taint. They blamed the Jews for the, quote, death of Christ, and then all the other things that went with it. But it's, hi, man, it's good to hear your voice. Thank you. 303-696-1971. The other story, of course, is the GOP lying to America. Who can go up there and take that seat and not tell the lie? This is a big crossroads for the state GOP. And again, watching this Cornell thing is just spooky, but it's not alone. All these other colleges and universities, this is rising. Let's go back to the phones. We go to Nick. Hey, Nick, thanks for calling. You're on a radio show. Good morning.
Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
In order to get any kind of objectivity when you talk about stuff like this, you have to go back to real history, not
absolutely.
fake history.
No, I agree.
Real history. And unfortunately, we have a generation that has been brainwashed, not educated, and they just start yapping about stuff they know nothing about, or they say stuff that's not based on reality.
Well,
now,
go ahead,
I'll give you an example, and you know this. Palestine is a noun that describes that geographical area that where Jordan and Lebanon and Syria and Israel are situated. There is no such thing as a Palestinian
hold on
people,
now. Hold
at
on.
least not in history.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. There is. Palestinians take their name from the Philistines.
Yes.
It's interesting who gets to be whom. With the right of return, anybody that, meets the requirements becomes an Israeli. But then they say you denounce somebody for calling themselves Palestinians. And I'm rereading this like every afternoon. I got rereading the Ottoman Empire. During the time of the Ottomans, everybody got along. It's real interesting that all the Ottomans seemed to want to do is collect the taxes and keep everybody in line. There was no such country as Iraq. And that was
right.
That was all under the empire, and the Ottomans are who they were but there weren't. I mean, the Jewish community in Baghdad was extremely, did extremely well, commercial and everything they did. And this intensity, and even go back and read the Roman Empire or read the time of Constantine, things get a little rough, but the time of the Ottomans, it really is a time of there's a getting along period. How's that? Turn it back to you.
All right. Well, I just think that you have to go back to solid, real historical facts as your basis before you can start talking about this stuff. Because I hear people say stuff that's just not historically true. It's not.
I agree.
It's not based on history.
Well,
now you said something about. I said something about Palestine was a noun that described that whole area. Now, from what I understand, there's never been a separate Palestinian people.
No, there hasn't
been. There have been Philistines.
Yes.
But for them to say that it's a Palestinian is a separate branch.
I'm not. I'm really, once again.
Not you, but I'm just saying in general, you hear these people talk.
Well, people, and I'm with you, but this conflict for the Holy Land, it's a three-way struggle: Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And Jerusalem has always been the epicenter of the struggle. And I don't see, Jerusalem's an amazing place to see. I mean, it's incredibly, there you can't turn, you walk into a wall of history. But if you look at the struggle, and the struggle began, when the rise of Islam and Remember, Muhammad's about 700 years after Christ. And when Christian European, all Christendom as they talk, decides to liberate, and really the first war then begins. But the Romans fight over it. The invasions fight over it. It's that one place. Do you ever see a movie? Come on, give me the name of it. It's really, really well done. It's kind of phony, but it's really well done about what's that called, Billy, where the young guy's a crusader and he goes and he decides it's wrong and he comes back. Come on, I know the name of it. But he meets Saladin, who's a real guy, who happened to be a Kurd, by the way. He wasn't an Arab. But they turn to each other. You may have seen this film, Nick. And he says, what's it worth? They're talking about Jerusalem. And Saladin turns around and said, it's nothing. And then he takes 2 steps and turns back around. He said, it's everything. What film is that? Come on, Peter.
Oh, that's what the Liam Neeson was in
yes,
it. And,
yes.
a few others. I can't.
I've seen it. I've seen it a dozen times.
I can't.
Yeah.
See, now I'm tongue tied. I can't.
You and I just want to stump on it. But that moment was, I thought of the whole film, that moment stood out because it said exactly everything. It means nothing. And then he takes another turn and said, and it's everything. Wow.
And let me just run this by you really quickly.
Sure.
In the Christian world, we had the Reformation for obvious reasons. The corruption was so rampant in the Roman Catholic Church, it was just disgusting.
Great.
They need a Reformation in the Muslim world.
They said they had it. It went the other way.
Yes. Well, if they had it, it went the wrong direction.
No, I'm saying they had it. The rise of the Wahhabs, all the different things that come with that. The Shia rise in Iran. They had their Reformation. Remember, there's 2 Reformations. One is Henry's Reformation, because he wanted the church didn't recognize his marriages, and he wanted his own church. Luther, and again, I urge people to read Luther. What Luther does say, brutal stuff that he says about Jews.
You didn't like him. No, he didn't.
Oh, but he doesn't start out that way. And that's the thing about Luther, that there's a moment for Luther that you understand when they're selling papal indulgences and relics of saints, and you can buy your way in. It's like,
right. It's a good cash cow for the church.
It sounds like television evangelists today, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And all these guys they got their private jets and the big houses.
Oh,
and you go, wait a minute.
Are they not the Catholicism of Luther's time?
Probably true. Yes.
80 million people. Kingdom of Heaven is the film. Thank you.
Kingdom of Heaven. All right.
But watch these evangelicals at work. What are they doing?
They're collecting money.
Sure. I always like the sales of papal indulgences for enough money or enough money. No, seriously. That's one of the things that Luther writes about, is if you're really, really weird. And look, hey, how much money did those Kennedys give to get their marriages annulled?
I don't know, but it was quite a bit.
So, and?
Well, look at Biden. Biden is supposedly a Roman Catholic, and he supports abortion.
Absolutely.
So I don't know.
No.
So how do you figure that one out?
You don't. The answer is you don't.
Now let me just say one more thing.
All right,
I think
it's a great call.
Through the centuries, society likes to put all the blame when things go wrong on one particular group.
Sure, of course.
And I think, of course, it's just human nature.
Yeah.
You got to blame somebody or something. And I think the Jews took the brunt of it because they really couldn't fight back.
What is this so much? It wasn't so much. It was like when you bring the might of your religion. Remember that motto: everybody else's religion is phony except yours. Come on, So if you bring the might of the church onto these people and they give them the blame for killing your Savior, that gives you a green light. Matter of fact, when you read Lebanese history, when the first crusade, all the crusaders came in and out of Lebanon, or most of them did. And I lived in a place called Byblos, where we get the name Bible. And there was a Roman road and a Crusader castle. Swear to God, it was just amazing. And so when it's some French Crusader guy, they're all named Guy, somebody, and he arrives in Lebanon, and they start killing Lebanese. They think they're Muslims, and the Lebs are going, "Whoa, we're Maronite Christians. We have been Christians since the time of the disciples," and they don't know what to do with that. So, but Palestinians and Palestine, and remember the Romans named them that. They get that because the Romans gave them that jacket. I don't know. It's a great call.
I just think that what's that old line? If Jesus were alive today, he wouldn't join any of the churches today.
Oh, condemn them all. It's like
condemn them all.
Like bring back Jefferson. Let him take a look at this. You read about Jefferson's call to revolt. Now he has this, for time to time. Is it the tree of liberty needs the blood of patriots? And
yes,
bring Jefferson.
I just
back.
think I agree with you. Except for the oil, nobody would give a damn about the Middle East, and we should just stay out of there. Just stay out of there, because we can't understand that culture or that history, and all we do is make a bigger mess.
When you read it and you listen and you read it and you listen and you read it and you listen, I've always said I've been in the Middle East a number of times. Every time I come back, I readjust all the players on the chessboard. Everything I thought before, I don't think anymore. It's because it's ever changing.
Exactly.
And at the same time, it's like that thing. It's exactly the same thing as it always was. Great call. Thanks, man.
Take care.
All right. Somebody sent me a text. Hyperbaric chambers. Yes. What time is it here, William? It is 27 after the hour. It's break time. Now, I took my 7th hyperbaric chamber trip yesterday afternoon. It is amazing. I'll bring my daughter on and then the doc. And we'll talk. Hyperbaric chambers are like, what a breakthrough. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Beautiful day, 65 the high today. Morning, everybody, on a Thursday, the second morning of November, 2023. I'm Peter Boyles. Good to have everybody here. And what a morning it's been. I don't know. I'll be back here this afternoon with Stefan on his final 2 days at 4 o'clock. And then Saturday morning, of course, at 9, as always. And we're talking off the break about whether or not the equipment will work. So let's see what that is. We're waiting for Dr. Jeff to talk about, well, no, if not, we don't catch him here in a minute, then my daughter's going to join us. And we have now become rabid fans of hyperbaric. There she said, we just want to go with Shan. We'll just do that. The doc's probably really busy. If we got him, jump him in. Okay, Bill? All right. So without further ado, she is the love of my life. She's the toughest kid I know. This is my daughter, Shannon. And so this goes back a really long time. Good friend of mine, Mel, who now my daughter knows, called me about hyperbaric chambers. And you went right into it. I'm so claustrophobic is the word. And I was like leery right away. So talk about your experience and I'll talk about mine. We'll see if Jeff joins us.
Okay, sure. So I've known and read about hyperbaric chambers for a long time, and I am fascinated on how it can benefit just about any person with issues that they're dealing with. And for me, I had gone through a horrific medical experience and, I'm an immune suppressed person. So healing for me takes a lot longer than a regular person. And what I've noticed from taking, I think I've done 9 sessions now, is that not only has it taken years off of my complexion and how young my skin looks, but I'm healing on things that never seemed to heal before. And not only that, but I just feel better when I come out. I feel more full of oxygen and awake. And every time I come out of there, Dad, I'm so impressed and grateful at what that's doing for me. And I just feel like it can help anybody, whether they're dealing with autoimmune disease or, they're slow healing or they've got wounds that, won't ever heal up. It just seems like it can really help everyone.
So me, claustrophobic, but I started to read and Michael Jackson slept in one, but it was like about 10 generations from now. Tom Brady, the GOAT, sleeps in one. Pittsburgh Steelers, Grand Prix drivers, the list goes on. Apparently, there are some Denver Broncos that are using hyperbaric chambers. And so I really started to read, and believe me, man, I'm like the most snake bit character. And so I went with my daughter and thought, well, if we're going to represent these guys, I got to get in the tank. And when it blows up, it's very roomy. I read in there or fall asleep. Or yesterday I was listening to radio shows on my phone. I can't tell you how good it is. My lungs, all kinds of stuff. So all of these, and my principal physician, Dr. Watts, says, hey, these things are great. They work. So what I would urge you to do, and they have a deal. What's the deal, Shan, for $100? It's
right. So you get 5 sessions and they're each an hour long in the hyperbaric chamber for $100, which is amazing. And what a great gift. We're coming on the holiday season and, for me, because my health has been through hell and back, the one most important thing you can have is good health. And so if you have a loved one that is struggling with some things and feel like this kind of a 5 sessions for $100 would help them out, go for it, because you can't go wrong when you invest in your health.
My gosh, sell it. It's this location, 75 South. They have 2 locations, but this is ours, 75 South Madison Street. It's 5 sessions, 5 hours for a hun. Call 303-353-9623, 303-353, and that's 9623. And the people that work there are wonderful. They're hyperbaric chambers. It's a new breakthrough. And like I said, I'm told, I don't know this, the Broncos are in them. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers because Dr. Watts' best friend from med school is the physician for the Steelers, and he puts them in. In Europe, the soccer players sleep in them, Grand Prix drivers sleep in them. Tom Brady, the GOAT, sleeps in one. And they sleep in them. I mean, Mel sleeps in one. And I'm telling you, take it. It's the $500 for a week, or 5 treatments, or 5 therapy sessions. And if you look into it, the hyperbaric oxygen, explain it, Shan, like when they take you up to an atmosphere and they wear a little oxygen thing in your nose, your blood cells grab more pure oxygen, right?
Yes, I believe it's between the pressure that they fill the chamber with and you breathing oxygen. I know I'm not speaking to this appropriately, and the doctor can school me on it, but what that does is I understand that inside of the chamber, the air pressure is raised to a level that's higher than our normal air pressure. And so by getting more oxygen to your tissues, it can help the body heal and fight infections and all of that, right?
It is amazing. And like I said, I finished my 7th session last night listening to talk radio on my cell phone, but they're over on Madison Street. It's right across from Choppers. And they're in the 2nd suite upstairs, 303-353-9623, 303-353. It's called HBOT, HBOT, 303-353-9623. Tell them Shannon Boyle sent you for the $100 deal. And try it. Just try it. It is when you come up after they, and they can get you out of it in a minute. If,
right.
If any claustrophobic thing hits you, they'll get you out in a minute. And me, I put the C in claustrophobia, and I handle it quite well. So I like you to try it. So the doc's busy. As my daughter Shannon says, 303-353-9623. You got to try it. Thanks, darling. You're the best.
You bet.
Be
you
safe.
Bet. Thanks, Dad.
Bye. Okay. Want to take the call? Let's do a break. All right. I'm serious about that. I mean, I go every afternoon. Actually, I went on Halloween. I think I wanted to go. I'm going tricks and treats with my grandson, so I took an early one at 2. It's an hour, and you lay down in it, and they start to pump it up, and you'll get over that. If you are claustrophobic, you get over it pretty quick. But it has made me feel like my lungs, especially because of what happened to me this summer. It's HBOT. It's the truth. 303-353-9623. Call them up, make an appointment, take the $100 deal. Back with the calls right after this. It's been a fun morning. Thank you, George. Peter Boyles on the air everywhere on a Thursday. I said, if his equipment doesn't work, I guess I'm back in tomorrow morning, but I suspect. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather 65, 68 tomorrow, Saturday 65, and Sunday. We had a bunch of motorcycle riding days. We're talking about two things. One is Ken Buck, obviously, and the other is the anti-Semitism. I'll read you this. Somebody that remembers history. It was Guy, and I'll just pronounce it. I won't do it right. Lussignan was the king of Jerusalem, right? And I knew that. I knew it was Guy, somebody. And marched the Christian army unnecessarily against Saladin, leading to the fall of Jerusalem. That's all true. All right, we'll go to Ben. Ben, you waited. I appreciate it. You're on the air.
Yeah, hey Peter, how's it going?
Good,
Can you hear
man.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are like conflating this like a zero-sum game where, where one side has to win with this anti-Semitism stuff and, the other has to fail. And it's not a zero-sum game like most people, always think. Like there's some issues that are going on where, Israel is treating these people a little unfairly. And, there's issues where Palestine is doing, stuff where there's security risks towards Israel, and they need to work it out, some of that stuff. But it's not something where, just to say, like, if you support Palestine and, their want for a second nation, that's not anti-Semitism.
So I mentioned that. I said, it's not there, but it is here. When you go into Europe and you go into the United States of America, again, I come back and focus on Cornell. That kind of stuff is right out of the Heidelberg University in 1936. I mean, but you're right about the war. And you're right about pretty much what you're saying, because it gets so convoluted. And as the one caller before you said, nobody reads history.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Palestinians, there's not really a whole lot of labor out there in the Gaza Strip. So I think most of them, traffic into other areas in Israel to go for work. But there's like these horrendous, traffic stops and stuff like that, where they have to go through all these,
I've been through those.
rigorous security.
Yeah, I went through them.
Security checks.
Yeah, I went through them. When you
which is also warranted because the Israelis have security concerns coming from that area. So it's a complicated issue, but I understand the frustration, and 99% of those Palestinians are not, terrorists, they're not members of Hamas. They're just normal people trying to
and again,
go to work.
But when the fellow said about approaching it through the eyes of real history, not manufactured or religious history, but true. What, as Joseph Heller again said, something happened. And I've been to Gaza. And when you go, there's a bus driver, he's an Israeli guy. He stops, he gets off, Palestinian guy gets on and drives you in. That's true. I mean, it is, I maybe at Checkpoint Charlie or something in 1955, or the DMZ in Korea or whatever. But it's, believe me, Ben, it's that intense. And they'll tell you straight up, man, they don't like you. And wow. And so when this idea of this conflict that they have, I was mentioning, I'm rereading the history of the Ottomans. Under the Ottomans, everybody seemed to live okay together. And there wasn't this clash. The clash was taking place in Europe. It wasn't taking place in the ME. But as always, it's fluid. It's a dynamic. It changes. But if you read Baghdad under the Ottomans, everybody seemed to get along. I'm not saying they were brothers, but there wasn't what we're witnessing now.
Yeah, it's always kind of funky because I feel like the more we get involved in some of these situations, they're kind of scrappy. They're kind of a scrappy family over there with the Saudis, the Sunni, the Saudi, or the Shiites, the Sunnis.
Yeah.
They'll go fight like cats and dogs amongst themselves.
But
if you get involved, all of a sudden it's like the neighborhood kid coming in and messing with your little brother, and then all of a sudden, they'll team up.
Yep.
and be like,
and I've been trying to explain this to many, many people. If you spend some time, do some traveling, do some listening and reading, remember, starting on the far left or the far east part of it, Lebanese will tell you straight up, we are not Arabs. We're Lebs. We're Phoenicians. We gave the world the alphabet. We taught commerce. Then, you start to move across. What do Egyptians say? Egyptians say we're Egyptians. They don't say we're Arabs. They say we're Egyptians. When you move to Jordan, they're Arabs, but they're Hashemites. You just keep moving. Are you go to Saudis? We're Arabs, but we're Wahhabists. And when you finally get to the Iranians, they're not Arabs, they're Aryans. And yet they're Shia Muslims. Saddam, he wasn't a religious guy, didn't care one way or the other. He just wanted to be Saddam. And he was probably good, according to many of the historians of Iraq. Every time some crazy jihadi raised his head, Saddam would cut it off. He wanted no truck with these people. He knew what they were going to do if they got he watched the Wahhabis. He watched that stuff. And he wouldn't let them have a foothold inside of Iraq. At the same time, guys are doing business. One of my, it made me cry moments is I met a guy in a camp in the Bekaa, and his English was better, which is not that tough, better than mine. He was a pharmacist. He had gone to pharmacy school at NYU, gone back to Baghdad, opened a pharmacy, and he was Christian. He was Orthodox. Saddam left him alone. They paid the tax. And then he said, and then he was mentioning our country. He said, George Bush bombed his pharmacy in Baghdad. And then who comes out of that? The horribleness of George Bush's monster. The real jihadis.
Yeah, I worked at a Lebanese restaurant with a group of a family member that was they were both actually just Christian, but had fled the war in the 80s to get out of there and brought their two daughters.
Yeah.
And after 9/11, I was talking with them, and they dealt with so much discrimination, so much just hate.
But people didn't know.
It was despicable. And it's like, these aren't terrorists. And they're not even Muslim. They're Christian people.
Yeah, they are Christian. Yeah, they're Maronites. They're Maronites. And I went to a Maronite service in Beirut, and it's really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that you may see in a Jewish ceremony. There's a lot of stuff that certainly isn't in modern Roman Catholicism. But as that story goes, when the first Crusaders get there, they're going to kill them. And they had to walk up and say, we are Christian. Because this is after the schism, Constantinople, after Constantine, and the church splits between the Orthodox and the Western Church. And they're truly Orthodox Christians, but they're Christians. And they adhere to the Pope. And they were still going to knock him off. He started killing them, I guess. And they said, whoa, Red Rider, we're Christian.
Yeah. I guess my point was just kind of that it's not a zero-sum game. And there's an area where, both sides can get some advantageous ground on this. It's not necessarily anti-Semitic to also support some of the Palestinian ideals, and it's not anti-Muslim to support some of the Israeli ideals.
And remember, not all Palestinians are Muslims, and that's important. George Habash, who got me off reading years ago, the doctor, the part of the PLO, he was a Christian physician. I got to take care. Thanks, man. Everybody, thank you for today. It was great. And the number again, people are calling me. What's the number? It's 303-353-9623 for HBOT. I maybe see you tomorrow. If not, I'll see you at 9 o'clock on Saturday. Billy Thorpe, thank you.